Harry Potter, the Formidable Wizard of Beauxbatons. Chapter 1. In the Pyrenees Mountains in August, an eagle owl flew slowly towards an old mountain castle under the hot sun. Speaking of which, it is also an unlucky guy. The admission notices that were supposed to be sent out in May still have not been sent out until today. Louis Lestrange, the last freshman at Beauxbatons College and the owner of the admission notice in the hands of the eagle owl, this unlucky little guy only has 3 days to prepare the supplies for the start of school. No way, who gave Louis a superior family background? Not to mention that the admission notice was blocked, but for Mrs. Maxim's help, his admission qualification would have been almost cancelled by others. On the top floor of the castle covered with ivy, 11-year-old Louis was looking at the steaming brass crucible in front of him with a serious face. As the temperature continued to rise, the semi-finished potion in the crucible gradually boiled, and a series of bubbles exploded in the yellow-green liquid, making a gurgling sound. This is one of the most common magic potions in the wizarding world. The famous super-powerful healing potion can be refined with only 3 ingredients: narcissus, white fresh wormwood and wormwood. The effect is more than twice as good as ordinary healing potions. Louis Lestrange, a member of the French Lestrange family. His grandfather was Cobos Lestrange v. He once followed Grindelwald as Saint Abernathy, rebuilding the Lestrange family after the defeat. Now! Louis shouted softly, holding both sides of the crucible with his hands wearing dragon leather gloves, and carefully lifted it from the magic flame. The successful refining of the super-powerful healing potion means that Louis has officially entered the world of potions, getting rid of his identity as a potion apprentice and becoming a noble potion master. Father and mother! Have you seen it? I finally succeeded. 2 lines of tears flowed from the corners of his eyes, but an extremely cheerful smile appeared on Louis' face. It had been 3 years since he had awakened the memory of his previous life. He already had the skills to refine medicine. It took him 3 years to break through the barrier between a potion apprentice and a junior potion master by relying on the medicine refining manuscript left by his mother. With the capital to protect himself, Louis couldn't help but start to daydream about the future. Should he marry Fleur or Hermione? Well, Cho Chang and Luna are also good. No matter what, he should marry Ginny. Pop, plop, plop. The stranger flapped his wings, trying to attract Louis' attention. Looking at Louis, whose eyes were dull and his mouth was drooling, the eagle owl tilted its cute head and thought, what bad luck, how could such a good little wizard become a fool? Glancing at Louis with disdain, the eagle owl dropped the notice, turned around, and flew out of the castle, as if he stayed a little longer, Louis' stupidity would be passed on to it. Hey, what is this? Is it a letter? After an unknown amount of time, Louis' legs were already numb from standing, before he recovered from the excitement and curiously picked up the letter left by the eagle owl. Ding! Key items detected, the strongest wizard system is opening. System? Oh my god, it has been 3 years since I awakened my memory, and my cheat is finally online. When he first awakened his memory, Louis was begging his grandfather to worship his grandmother. He tried various methods, but he still couldn't find the cheat that is necessary for transmigrators. Fortunately, Louis' parents died during that time, and his aunt, who was busy taking care of the funeral affairs, didn't pay much attention to Louis' behavior. Otherwise, she would have doubted whether her nephew had been hit too hard and turned into a fool. Unexpectedly, another village had a bright future. Just as potion science was making progress, the system was discovered again. It could be said to be a double happiness. After a while, a transparent interface appeared in front of Louis' eyes, which recorded how to use the most powerful wizard system. The system has 3 functions. 1 is detection. The cabbage skill in the system flow novel can be used to detect the properties of objects. As the level of CMA wizard increases, the detection function will gradually improve. Name: Louis Lestrange. Realm: Wizard Apprentice Realm. Magic: 36 points. With the new ability, Louis naturally wanted to try it out, so he got the extremely simple attribute table above. The second function is called reward. Every time Louis upgrades the wizard level, he can draw a skill reward, which includes various magical skills and even talents. As long as Louis is lucky, he can draw it. The third function is a practice technique, or a guide to absorbing magic power. According to the above statement, Louis can use it to actively absorb the magic power in the air. This is a new thing. In the entire wizarding world, neither Dumbledore, the strongest white wizard, nor the famous Grindelwald have such a thing as practicing martial arts. Maybe there was such a thing in the ancient wizarding world, but anyway, there is no such thing as practicing martial arts in the current wizarding world. Law. All wizards increase their magic power by accumulating time or drinking magic potions. In other words, as long as the body can hold on, the older the wizard is, the stronger the wizard will be. Louis, come down quickly, my aunt has something to tell you. Louis' only living relative, Anne Lestrange, the adopted daughter of her grandparents, shouted in the castle hall. Here it comes. Right now, give me 1 minute. Hearing Anne's cry, Louis immediately came back to his senses. Just as he was about to walk out of the alchemy room, he lost his balance and almost fell to the ground. It turned out that he had stood in one position for too long, and his legs were numb and he could not move. Come on. Folding the letter in half and stuffing it into his pants pocket, Louis smiled bitterly and limped out. What took you so long? Annie put down her teacup and asked with her beautiful embroidered eyebrows furrowed. Forget it, where is the admission notice from Beauxbatons Academy of Magic? Have you received it? Anne then asked. Admission notice, is there such a thing? Louis couldn't help but be stunned. TCH, what are you pretending to be? I've seen it, the notice is coming. Anne used her finger instead of the wand to cast the simplest flying spell. The admission notice with a corner exposed automatically flew out of Louis' pocket and landed on the coffee table in front of Anne. This thing is the admission notice. He was just looking at the system, and Louis didn't even have time to read what was written in the letter. He had to pay attention to the steps when he went downstairs, so he didn't even have time to read it. Looking at the Beauxbatons school emblem on the envelope, a pair of soaring Pegasus and crossed wands, Anne couldn't help but fall into memories. 3 years ago, she was also a member of this college. By the way, there are a lot of things going on at Gringotts these 2 days, so it's hard to ask for leave. It's not convenient for me to take you to buy school supplies. After a while, Anne suddenly said. It's okay, Aunt, I can do it by myself. Louis' eyes lit up, and he immediately patted his chest. With Anne's support over the years, Louis has saved a lot of money, but unfortunately he has no purchasing channels, so he can only watch and be unable to spend it. Anne would not allow Louis to go to the magic fair alone. She always felt that it was too dangerous for the little wizard. Chapter 2. Are you going by yourself? Haha, don't even think about it. I've found a girl from elementary school. She will help supervise you. It's best not to have any evil intentions, otherwise you will know. Anne was extremely familiar with her nephew. He was the kind of person who would shine brightly if he was given a little sunshine. If he didn't keep an eye on him, he would have caused big problems long ago. If it weren't for the fact that buying a wand for the first time requires qualification from the Magic Academy, and you can only buy wands in a regular wand shop as a freshman, Anne would really be unwilling to let Louis go. Everything is time, everything is caused by Lestrange. According to Louis's irresponsible temper, sooner or later he will provoke those enemies of the Lestrange family if he is released. Don't bother your junior sister. School is about to start. What should I do if I disturb others? Hey, young Master Louis actually knows how to be polite. You've made some progress, kid. Anne said sarcastically. Yes, I'll listen to your head office. Under Anne's half-smiling expression, Louis was defeated first and sat down next to Anne with a wry smile. Hey, this is what you're wearing? Don't blame me for not reminding you, my junior high school girl is a beauty. When Annie first met the school girl, she was amazed by her for a long time. After thinking about it, she could only describe her as a beauty in the world. I don't want to change my name, but I don't want to change my surname. Why do I need to change my clothes when I meet a woman? Louis replied arrogantly, but he didn't know that this decision would make him regret it for a long time. He closed his eyes and silently memorized the content of the first paragraph of the practice method. I was interrupted by Annie just now, and I didn't have time to look down. The nameless technique is divided into 8 sections. Except for the first section, which is lit, the other 7 sections are in an unreadable dark state. You're still too young, boy. An unobservable smile appeared on Anne's delicate face. She was suddenly looking forward to the first meeting between Louis and his school girl. What does Louis look like now? His soft, slightly curly blonde hair is similar to that of a chicken coop, and his cute but heroic face is full of exhaustion. He recently had a breakthrough in potions and had not had a good night's sleep for more than a month. Not to mention the body, the lower body is in stain-resistant overalls. If you look closely, you can still see some dirt, and the upper body is covered in an experimental dragon skin coat. Although it is not very dirty, the old appearance always gives people a sloppy look. This look is okay at home, but in front of a strange and beautiful little girl, tisk tisk tisk, Anne is looking forward to Louis' expression at that time. Odd changes to even, unchanged, symbols. Look at the quadrants. What kind of rubbish technique is this? After reading it through, Louis discovered sadly that except for the symbols inside, he couldn't understand any of the rest. The font on it is crooked and the structure is somewhat like the oracle bone inscriptions. Louis couldn't understand it. Moreover, the exercise comes with a one-click clearing function. No matter how Louis memorizes it, as soon as he sees the next paragraph, he forgets what the previous paragraph or even the previous word looks like. Fortunately, the system has thoughtfully prepared a dictionary of ancient goblin languages. As long as Louis understands this dictionary thoroughly, he can practice the first section of the technique. Looking at the palm-thick goblin dictionary, Louis withdrew from the conscious space with great sincerity, not to be offended. Glancing at Annie, who was busy in the kitchen, Louis tapped the reward button consciously. The next second, Louis' consciousness suddenly appeared in the huge reward space. Except for the giant turntable in front of him, the entire space was dark. There is a console under the turntable. The number of uses is recorded on the left. The big word represents Louis' opportunity to use it once. On the right is a round glass button. The incarnation of his consciousness punched the button, and the turntable immediately started spinning. The colors representing various rewards were mixed together, almost blinding Louis. After about half a minute, the turntable finally stopped, and the middle pointer pointed at a yellow area. Before Louis could clearly see what was written on it, his whole body was ejected. Name, Louis Lestrange. Occupation, Wizard Apprentice, 36/40, Junior Potion Master. Talent. Earth Barrier, sealed, consumes 10 magic points per second to obtain a magic shield that reduces damage by 20.00%. Bloodline Talent, Lestrange's Glory, not activated, activation conditions unknown. Yes, Louis was extremely lucky to get a talent that reduces damage by 20.00%. It may not seem like much, but it directly affects the rules. Stronger than Dumbledore, when he attacks Louis with magic, the damage will still be reduced by 20.00%. Such a powerful talent, not to mention 10 points of magic power per second, even 1,000 points of magic power are rushed by people every second. When Louis's total magic power and recovery speed increase, maybe he can activate this talent all day long. Question. I just don't know how this reduction is calculated. I will test it later to see what the Earth Barrier and other protective spells will look like together. Louis rubbed his chin and thought. What are you thinking about? You look like a pig. Get up and clean up. She's coming soon. Annie slapped Louis on the back of the head. TCH, why are you dragging me? Wait for me. Louis kept mumbling, but he stood up honestly and helped Anne clean up the messy living room. Perhaps it was a habit she developed when she was a child. Anne didn't like cleaning up the magic spells very much, and she wasn't used to being taken care of by others. She was more used to taking care of things at home by herself. In the castle under her jurisdiction, not to mention automated magical furniture, even the house elves necessary for noble wizard families were sent by Anne to manage the old residents of the Lestrange family. As the castle environment became tidy, Louis suddenly felt uneasy. Compared with the beautiful Anne in his outfit, let alone the young master in the castle, calling him a servant is a compliment to Louis. At least a servant is clean. Mistake, I shouldn't have spoken too harshly just now, and now I don't even have a chance to change my words. Louis complained secretly in his heart. But even if he had one uneasiness in his heart, he could only suppress it and let him admit his mistake in front of Anne. Let's wait 1 year. 17 o'clock struck, and Louis had just helped Anne put the last dish, French onion soup, on the rosewood table when he saw a fluorescent green light flashing in the fireplace. The firelight faded, and a girl in a pink-blue dress stood in front of the fireplace. She was tall and slender, with golden hair covering her face. Louis could only see her side face, which was a pretty face that was like a work of art, no, even rarer than a work of art. I don't know if Louis was dazzled, but he always felt that there was a faint silver light shining next to the girl. Chapter 3. It's over, my lifelong reputation is gone. Surprised, Louis felt dizzy and wanted to find a hole in the ground to crawl into. She wouldn't think I'm sloppy with the way I'm dressed, right? The first impression is completely gone. Fortunately, Louis too was a man with a strong psychological quality. Although he was extremely shy, he quickly came up with a countermeasure. You can't see me, you can't see me, you all can't see me. Louis prayed, squatting down and quietly taking a few steps back under the cover of the sofa. Under Fla's slightly surprised gaze, Louis ran up the stairs in a hurry. Sister Anne, he must be Louis, he is really energetic. Pointing in the direction Louis left, Fleur held it in for a while before she came up with this adjective. Ignore him, come on, come here and try my handiwork. Anne smiled teasingly, she knew that Louis would regret it sooner or later. Wait a minute, Louis. Fleur hesitated. Why are you waiting for him? That boy doesn't know how long he will stay upstairs. Annie said with a smile, pulling Fleur to sit next to her. Have you already eaten? It seems I came at the right time. Wearing a small black men's suit, with wet blonde hair, and light makeup to eliminate the influence of dark circles under his eyes, Louis walked down the stairs in a dignified manner. Pfft, ha 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 ha. Looking at his serious look, Annie even forgot to eat the steak in her mouth. Is this still her stupid nephew? No, I can't help but laugh. The famous law of conservation of smiles once said that smiles will not appear or disappear out of thin air, they will only move from one person's face to another person's face, which is exactly what happened to Louis at this time. Listening to Anne's unbridled laughter, Louis's ears and face turned red, and the smile on his face completely collapsed and transferred to Fleur and Anne's faces. Ahem, let me introduce you to this beautiful lady. This beautiful lady is Miss Fleur Delacour. She is the most beautiful flower of Beauxbatons Academy. She will stay in our house temporarily for the next 3 days. Fleur? Are you Fleur? As soon as the words came out of his mouth, Louis knew that something was wrong. What? Do you know Fleur? As the closest person to Louis, Anne was very aware of Louis' social scope. Apart from herself, Louis had almost no wizard friends, not to mention muggles, who were not even qualified to touch the castle. This guy doesn't even read gossip magazines. He only eats and sleeps all day long and studies potions. How could he know Fleur? Well, you've heard of the head office, right? Louis roared with some embarrassment. He couldn't possibly say that he had seen it while watching a movie in his previous life, or that he had been thinking about Fleur not long ago and wanted to take her home as his wife. Since the establishment of the system, Louis has completely expanded and is no longer limited to the idea of who to marry home. The pattern is too small. As the owner of the system, does everything have to be excessive? Okay, I won't say anything anymore, haha, come over and eat. Anne quickly dropped the subject amid annoying teasing. Fleur, who was watching the whole process, covered her mouth and snickered. This pair of aunt and nephew was really funny, but to be honest, she was quite envious of the way Anne and Louis got along like friends. No matter in elementary school or Beauxbatons Academy, she didn't have any close friends. Girls were jealous of her appearance, and boys always had bad thoughts in their minds. After finishing dinner slowly, Louis swore that this was the slowest and least supper he had ever eaten. He only ate a piece of steak and some desserts and then closed the stall hastily. You idiot, why are you dazed? Why don't you help Fleur carry the luggage up? Louis, who was still thinking about the food, came back to his senses. Only then did he see the 2 suitcases at Fla's feet, which contained Fla's clothes. Don't bother, I can do it myself. Fleur waved her jade hands, looking a little shy, but the box with the floating spell was indeed not heavy, and Fleur would not feel tired after carrying it all day. Leave it to Louis as punishment for leaving without saying goodbye in the afternoon. Let's go to your room first and I can fill in whatever is missing. Anne took Fla's right hand and led her upstairs without any explanation. The 2 beauties, one big and one small, formed a beautiful scenery. Carrying the magic suitcase, Louis followed them silently until they walked to the second room on the left on the second floor, which was diagonally opposite Louis' room, and then put down the suitcase. It was after 8 o'clock in the evening, and the weather outside was not completely dark yet. After taking care of the affairs in the alchemy room and tidying up all the materials, Louis walked back to his room with a tired body. From time to time, you can still hear the delicate laughter of Anne and Fleur. Since they entered the room, they have not come out until now. Putting the reagent bottle filled with potion on the table, Louis took off his clothes, lay flat on the bed and reflected on what he had done today. This is something he does every day. The more times he does it, the more he becomes a habit. When Anne and Fleur ended their conversation and walked into Louis' room, the little guy had already fallen asleep. She covered Louis with a quilt thoughtfully, and Anne walked out of the room gently. Early the next morning, as the sun just rose over the Pyrenees, Louis got up at the call of the sun. Since the death of his parents and the awakening of memories from his past life, Louis has given up the habit of sleeping in. Unless he went to bed too late the night before, he would get up on time at 7 in the morning. It was obviously late today, but the castle was quiet, and it was obvious that Fleur and Annie hadn't gotten up yet. I looked at the time out of habit, it was 43:7, and Annie would be late in 20 minutes. The job at Gringotts is very easy. The working hours are from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. When there is a heavy flow of people, you can work overtime. Overtime pay will be given, according to the situation. You can also ask for leave when you are free. You can be called a moral model in the wizarding world. He skillfully started the pot and started the fire. It was obviously not the first time that Louis had done this. He made fried eggs and milk, and made breakfast for 5 people. He only ate a little bit last night, and he was already very hungry. He gulped down the breakfast for 2, and then Louis walked to Annie's door with the plate in hand. "Wake up, Annie, if you don't get up you'll be late for work." Louis patted the door, but received no response from Anne. Instead, he woke up Fleur who was sleeping next to him. At 8:30 in the morning, 3 cloaked figures appeared in the fireplace room next to the Gringotts branch in France. In the end, Annie was late. The sleepy guy forgot to even say hello and ran towards Gringotts in a hurry. His pretty face was full of distress. She must have been thinking of an excuse for being late. Chapter 4. Hee, well, where should we go next? Louis asked tentatively. "Let's buy textbooks first. Mrs. Russell's bookstore is right in front, then go to customize the wand, and finally buy pets. What do you think?" This is the route that Fleur and Annie discussed last night. Crucibles and other items are available at home. When the magic robe comes to school, it will be customized by someone. It is similar to school uniforms and the quality is much better than those outside. What Louis is most in need of is wands and pets. Although he can use Anne's teaching materials, the Lestrange family does not lack the money for teaching materials, so they can just buy new ones. As for the crucible and dragonhide gloves, why not buy new ones? It is obviously much better to use the ones you are used to than new ones. Louis is familiar with all the attributes, so there is no need to replace them. "Welcome. Do you two need anything?" As soon as he walked into the bookstore, he was greeted by a slightly wealthy witch. She was Mrs. Russell, the owner of the bookstore. "Good morning, Mrs. Russell, we need a set of admission books for first-year Beauxbatons college students." Fleur stepped forward and said. Mrs. Russell glanced at the 2 cloaked figures suspiciously. The freshman admission books should have been prepared a long time ago, but she didn't say anything more and happily took out a pile of packed books. The inheritance is 67 gold galleons and 67 silver seco. You are the latest little wizards to come this year. All other books have been sold. Louis readily took out his wallet, counted 200 of the more than 67 golden galleons and handed them to Mrs. Russell. He just took a cursory glance and found that there were 9 books in the packaged half-person high books, one more than what was on the Hogwarts admission list. Alchemy by Mr. Nick Flamel, this book alone is nearly 30 centimeters thick. Those are our textbooks for the next 5 years. It's impossible for you to learn them all in one semester. Fleur whispered. She was also shocked when she saw this book for the first time. How could she finish studying the most profound and difficult alchemy in such a thick book? However, if it extends to 5 years, the workload is actually not that big. Leave the book with you for now. Can we pick it up later? Of course, it's no problem. You go ahead and do your work. I'll be in the bookstore before 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Mrs. Russell replied cheerfully. Cavendish Wand Shop is the only orthodox wand shop in France, with a wand-making history of more than 800 years. Oh, bad luck. Fleur, who was imparting knowledge about wands to Louis, spat softly, moved her body and hid behind Louis, apparently forgetting that she was still wearing a cloak. What's wrong? Don't they want to deal with you? At the entrance of the Cavendish Wand Shop, a man and woman in Beauxbatons uniforms walked out arm in arm, talking and laughing. It's okay, it's just a little conflict, let's leave quickly. Fleur didn't explain too much and took Louis' hand and walked forward. This was Louis' first time coming into contact with Fleur. We held hands as soon as we started. Isn't this progress a bit fast? What should we call our first child in the future? Louis, whose thoughts were racing and his heart was racing, failed to notice Fla's slightly trembling body, and let her pull him past the couple and into the crowded wand shop. Wait! I seem to smell the scent of that vixen. The young witch stopped. She smelled some of her most disgusting smells in the air. Welcome, Miss Delacour and this strange little gentleman. Mr. Cavendish, a handsome old man in his 60s wearing a monocle, did not forget to wipe the wand in his hand as he spoke. After carefully putting the wand into the wand box, Mr. Cavendish raised his head. He was very familiar with the little girl on the left. He helped her make a wand a year ago. The main material is a pure-blood Vela hair, made of rosewood, 9.5 inches long, and can be regarded as his most proud work in recent years. I can't hide it from you, Grandpa Cavendish. Fleur took off the hood on her head, and in an instant, the entire wand shop seemed to light up. Where is this young gentleman? He will buy the wand today. Mr. Cavendish said casually that he remembered the scent of every wand, and by extension the outstanding wand owners. Fla's wand has a gentle aura, unlike the last little guy who didn't care for his wand at all. Cavendish got angry when he mentioned it. It was a wand, not a stick, not for hitting people. Good morning, Mr. Cavendish, my name is Louis Lestrange, and I would like to purchase a wand. From the Lestrange family, Cavendish seemed to have thought of something, and his light blue eyes revealed a sad color. Take off your cloak and come in with me. Fleur helped Louis take off his cloak and held it in her arms. Mr. Cavendish had already been waiting for them in the small room behind the counter. Stretch out your right hand. Louis just stretched out his right hand when he was pulled over by Cavendish. He touched very carefully, touching every knuckle and every bone on Louis' right hand, from the fingertips to the shoulder. There was also a magic tape measure under his command, which measured the distance from Louis' wrist to elbow joint to shoulder, and then measured Louis' body measurements. Let's try this wand. It's made of apple wood, -inches, and the core is dragon's nerve. It's suitable for young wizards with high aspirations. Cavendish took a wand from outside and handed it to Louis. The wand swirled back and forth in Louis' hand, and before Louis could wave it, Cavendish pulled it out. No, definitely not this one. What about trying this one? Your mother used this kind of wand back then, made of acacia wood and phoenix feathers. It was a round, gentle wand that didn't resist Louis' touch at all, but it didn't respond to his swings either. That's not it. Well, he is such a picky little guy. I haven't seen such a picky little wizard like you for a long time. As Mr. Cavendish spoke, he took out the next wand, which was made of elder wood, the heart cord of a fire dragon, and had the same core as Hermione. Louis tried waving it, and the magic flowed uncontrollably to the wand in his hand, and then a large ball of light rose from the top of the wand. Oh, no, he doesn't suit you either. Where is that wand? Did I measure it wrong? Mr. Cavendish was a little confused. Since he introduced the mechanism of measuring first and then selecting, there have been very few mismatches. Even if the first wand does not fit, the second one should fit. The result is Louis here, 3 in a row are not suitable. Wait for me. Louis' situation aroused Mr. Cavendish's competitive spirit. He simply brought a bunch of wands that he thought were suitable for Louis and let him choose one by one. Chapter 5. In the next hour, Louis tried more than 30 wands one after another. Some of them were good and some were bad. The good ones barely met the adaptation conditions, and the bad ones could only be described in one word. Normally, Mr. Cavendish would have told Louis to take the wand and get out, but this time, he wanted to find a wand that fit Louis perfectly. Come. Try this one. More than 80 years ago, my father spent 100 galleons to recover the trophy from a wizard. I heard it was snatched from some garden. Mr. Cavendish took out a carefully carved white jade box. The material of the wand should be antlers, and the core of the wand is a large snake nerve called a dragon. It is 17 inches long. I don't know what the specific quirks are. This was a sample collected by old Mr. Cavendish, intending to use it to study and learn from Eastern wizards' methods of making wands. Unfortunately, he never figured out the making principle of this wand throughout his life. Ow! The moment Louis touched the wand, the tragic dragon's roar echoed deep in his soul, seeming to be lamenting his own demise and celebrating Louis' arrival. That's right. This is it. I finally found it. A slightly crying voice came out of Mr. Cavendish's mouth. As a wand maker, the wands he selected failed to meet the appropriate standards many times. Isn't this a slap in his face? For only 7.5 gold galleons, Louis successfully took away this valuable dragon wand. The rest of the cost was borne by the Ministry of Magic. The dragon wand is the name Louis gave her. Compared with this name, Louis prefers to call her a separate dragon, or dragon. Who am I talking about? It turns out to be you, a foxy girl. What's wrong? You've seduced a new man again. Piercing and harsh sounds continued to spew out from the mouth of a witch wearing a blue school uniform. Hearing this familiar voice, Fla's face turned ugly. She had slandered herself in the academy, but she still refused to give up outside. The witch was not ugly, but her high cheekbones and sharp chin destroyed the overall balance of her face, giving her a harsh and mean look. She was accompanied by a wizard of the same age, looking at Fleur with eyes full of passion and desire. They were the couple just now. What are you looking at? Then I'll pluck out your eyeballs. Louis stood protectively in front of Fleur, blocking the wizard's annoying sight. The weather was already very hot at 10 o'clock in the morning at the end of August. Louis and Fleur didn't put on their hoods and walked out of the wand shop openly, but they didn't expect that there was a couple waiting for them outside. What did you say? Are you looking for a beating? He has always been the only one who bullies others, but this is the first time someone has bullied him, Longsi Marino. Louis, don't argue with him, his family. Fleur reminded Louis while holding his hand. Longzi is a well-known bully in the college. With his family background, he bullies the civilian students in the college every day. Many people dare not speak up against him. I said, what's wrong with you? Come and try to hit me. Ha, Louis smiled. In France, there is a family that the Lestrange family dare not offend. Even if the Lestrange family is in decline now, it is not something that the country bumpkin across the street can bully. Okay, that's great. This is the first time I've met a brave person like you. A cruel smile appeared on Longzi's face, and his finger bones creaked when he pinched it. Since the wand was taken for repair, he would personally deal with the boy in front of him. Stop, Longzi. I won't allow you to bully Louis. Seeing Longzi approaching, Fleur tremblingly pulled out her wand and stood in front of Louis. She wanted to protect Louis. Hey, bitch. What qualifications do you have to order me? Long Xi spat. He had long been dissatisfied with Fla's condescending look. If he hadn't wanted to flirt with her, Long Xi could have behaved even more vulgarly and disgustingly. Amidst the cheers of the surrounding wizards who were not too concerned about the excitement, Longzi approached step by step. Give me a chance to make a difference, Fleur. Gently pushing aside the girl standing in front of him, Louis said in a gentle but unacceptable tone. He didn't plan to use a wand because he hadn't learned any spells. Optical potions made Louis' head hurt, so there was no time to learn spells. But Louis, like Longzi, has great confidence in his physical fitness. Although Louis is very thin, he is just over 1.6 meters tall and looks like he only weighs about 50 kilograms. In fact, he weighs an astonishing 90 kilograms. Before the advent of the system, Louis' only cheat was his extraordinary physique. Can you believe it? When he was 10 years old, Louis could lift a water tank weighing more than 300 kilograms. Possessing the memory of his previous life, he has twice as much soul power as others. Although Louis's magic talent is not enhanced, and he is not a genius in absorbing magic power, it unexpectedly strengthens his physical fitness. Longzi swung his right fist, with a smile on his freckled face. He had already imagined Louis' miserable appearance. Louis also swung his fist, but he only used 20% of his strength for this punch. He was afraid that the punch would be too hard and cripple the stupid boy opposite him. The two fists collided in the air, and then separated quickly. Louis stood firmly on the spot, while Longsi Marino was knocked away 3 or 4 meters away. Wow! The crowd watching the excitement suddenly became excited. I'm afraid this kid has troll blood. He's so strong. You can tell by his appearance, okay? That boy is so handsome, does he look like an ugly monster with troll blood? On the contrary, bro, you look a bit like him. What did you say, Timo? Do you want to die? Ignoring the noise outside, after glaring hard at the guy who said he had troll blood and dragging him into the Lestrange family's blacklist, Louis walked towards Mr. Marino who was lying on the ground wailing. You! Don't come here! Do you know who I am? I am the youngest member of the Marino family. If you dare to hit me, my family will not let you go. Seeing Louis approaching step by step, Mr. Marino was so frightened that he quickly pulled out his protective umbrella. It turns out that you are the young master of the Merino family. No wonder you are so crazy. Then do you know who I am? Louis raised the corners of his mouth, and his angelic smile instantly captured a group of mom fans, and several middle-aged witches had dangerous colors flashing in their eyes. The Merino family, one of the top 10 families in Italy, is almost as powerful as 1/10 of the Lestrange family. This is still the Lestrange after its decline. If it were 40 years ago, when France was still the first family, the 100 Merino family combined would not be a match for the Lestrange family. Chapter 6. I don't care who you are. Mr. Merino obviously didn't realize the seriousness of the matter. He. When will the Lestrange family be ignored? As soon as these words came out, the noisy environment suddenly became quiet. What? The Lestrange family? Could it be that he is the child of the vampire demon? I don't know, which wizard roared, and in an instant, the wizards who were watching the excitement collectively took a few steps back, and many wizards even fled the team in a hurry. The vampire demon is said to be an existence that is not afraid of magic and can suck other people's blood and even magic power. If she hadn't been dead, wizards believe that sooner or later she would become a big shot comparable to Grindelwald. As for Voldemort, what is that? Is it a new pet? Sorry, the French wizard said he didn't recognize it. Lao Fu's scope of influence is limited to the United Kingdom. In the world, he is not as famous as Louis' grandfather, Saint Abernethy. At least he followed Grindelwald to participate in the entire Wizarding War and is one of Grindelwald's most trusted people. Poor Lao Fu, he is just the self-proclaimed Dark Lord of the British Ministry of Magic. Devil! I knew you were a devil. Mr. Merino kicked the ground with his legs, dragging a long trace on the ground. The wizards covered their mouths and noses. The guy was so scared that he peed. After all, Mr. Merino is just a guy who just turned 12 years old. After hearing the information about his mother, Louis suddenly lost the idea of continuing to teach him a lesson. He didn't like the title of Vampire Devil. His mother was obviously a very gentle person. Looking around, seeing the looks of disgust or curiosity from the wizards, Louis' heart sank. There had been too many surprises in the past 2 days, and he was a little drifting. This incident was a wake-up call for Louis. Louis, who felt inexplicably uncomfortable, took a long breath and strode past Mr. Merino. It's funny, every time Louis goes, the crowds will give him a 2-meter-wide path. Little Fleur opened her mouth in surprise. Was she abandoned by Louis? Fortunately, Louis hadn't gone too far, and Fleur quickly ran after him. After they left, except for a few guys with ulterior motives, the other wizards gradually dispersed. Aren't you afraid of me? I'm the child of a vampire demon. After a long time, until they entered another street, Louis stopped and asked in a muffled voice. The further he walked, the more uncomfortable he felt. Why should his mother be treated as a devil by them? Why? Me? Why should I be afraid of you? Didn't you just help me? Besides, you can't hurt me. Fleur smiled and said, being willing to speak showed that most of the anger in Louis' heart had dissipated, and what he needed now was someone to comfort him. I don't understand why they say my mother is a devil. She is so warm and she is not willing to hurt even a small animal. Maybe, they haven't had contact with your mother. Fleur comforted softly. If it weren't for that damn disease, my mother wouldn't. The two of them chatted for a long time, slowly starting from Louis's childhood to Fleur's childhood. Especially last year, Fleur's experience at Beauxbatons Academy was definitely a school bullying incident in the wizarding world. The girl who was with Merino was Fleur's classmate and her #1 hater in Beauxbatons Academy. She entangled a lot of girls who slandered Fleur behind her back, calling her a prostitute who seduced men and a stinky bitch who took away other people's boyfriends. Louis gritted his teeth after hearing this. He didn't expect that Fleur had such a miserable life in the academy. He immediately patted his chest and promised that when school starts, he must teach those witches a few lessons to vent her anger. By the time they stepped into Honeyduck's shop side by side, Fleur and Louis had become very good friends. After having a wonderful lunch in the store, Louis ate 10 cakes the size of footballs. There is a reason why Honeydukes is popular all over the world. Apart from the price, it tastes really good. The midday sun is a troublesome thing. Neither Louis nor Fleur wanted to hang out in the scorching sun. They simply ordered a sweet and sour honey water and sat down to chat about their favorite topics. Ah! It's 3 o'clock before you know it. Get up, Louis, we should go buy pets. Fleur shook Louis awake on the table. It's 3 o'clock. Let's go. Louis stretched out. This sleep gave him a comfortable sleep. When he came to the street outside, the endless flow of people was no less than in the morning. Pets include an owl and a portable pet. The school rules of Beauxbatons College are relatively loose, allowing students to keep less dangerous animals, such as Fleur, and she has a cute Persian cat. Do you have any favorite animals, Louis? Why don't you be like me and raise a cute kitten? Then my milkshake will have a playmate. Fleur suggested, she loves kittens like this fluffy ones. So cute. Well, both cats and dogs are fine, but I prefer dogs. If possible, Louis would like to bring a black bear to school. It can be used as a mount and a human shield. It can also practice boxing with Louis. It has a silly look and is simply a must-have cute thing for a macho man. A dog? Bichon frise, butterfly or shih tzu are also very cute. They must feel good in your arms. Louis finally understood that Fleur was just like an ordinary little girl, she liked those small, cute pets. Haha, okay, you have to help me refer to it when the time comes. Louis agreed with a wry smile. The pet shop at the deepest part of the street has animals from all over the world in the large space next to it. Louis even saw a ptarmigan in a cage. This big guy lowered his head in a sickly manner, as if he was about to die, and even his feathers had lost their luster. Pick what you want, just come over and pay. The shop owner said without looking back. He was still busy handling the new batch of animals. Especially that Thunderbird, the damn reseller didn't tell him before selling it, and sold him a dying Thunderbird. Here, right here, I buy my milkshake from here. Fleur said, pointing to a group of Persian cats. More than a dozen Persian cats were squeezed elegantly into an iron cage. This area gathers all the common animals in the store. They are kept in different cages in groups, occupying almost half of the space of the pet store. Except for the boss's cursing voice, no noise could be heard in the store. The roars of the animals were firmly restricted in the iron cage by the special magic circle. Chapter 7. Hibiscus walked among all kinds of cute animals, sometimes smiling and teasing the little cutie in the cage, and sometimes frowning her thin eyebrows, as if she was worrying about which cutie to tease. Shaking his head helplessly, Louis followed the instructions on the sign, bypassed the playful Fleur, and walked towards the area where medium and large dogs were. Rottweiler, Husky, Golden Retriever, Caucasus. Louis even saw the rhubarb that was very common in his past life memory, with a price tag of 80 galleons. He looked at his severely shrunk wallet. I was wrong, sorry. You shouldn't think too much. If it weren't for the weak coffers, Louis would have really wanted to buy a rhubarb as a pet. When I left in the morning, there were still 230 gold galleons in the small vault, but now I only had a little over 100 gold left. The lunch meal alone cost Louis 43 gold galleons. If I had known earlier, I shouldn't have eaten those cakes, Louis regretted it so much now. 10 fruit cakes the size of footballs cost him 30 gold galleons. In this food store, money comes faster than robbery. Listing rhubarb in the candidate column, Louis turned towards the big cat area, first excluding carnivores like lions and tigers, and then nothing else. Whether they are Norwegian forest cats or savanna cats, they are all lanky little guys, and they do not fit the majestic and domineering image that Louis expected. Why not go see the owls first? I walked out of the cat and dog area like a walk and came to the center of the pet store. There were also a number of animals piled here. The ptarmigan I saw when I entered was one of them. These are newly imported goods. You can take a look at them as you like, but don't try to get close to them. Believe me, kid, you will never like that ending. Hearing the approaching footsteps, Alvin Burke looked up from his account book. A cute boy with blonde hair stood beside the Thunderbird cage, looking at the dying Thunderbird. Good afternoon, Mr. Shopkeeper, thank you for the reminder, please don't worry, I won't go near them. Louis replied politely that he would not approach these dangerous animals without being reminded by the shop owner. Race, Thunderbird, 4-star magical creature. Status, severe inflammation/malnutrition/pregnancy/fear. The rough data of the Thunderbird appeared in front of Louis' eyes. The poor big guy didn't know what happened to him. He was poached while pregnant. With the keen eyesight provided by the detection technique, Louis quickly found the reason for the big girl's weakness. There was a wound as big as a bowl on her curled-up wings. Light yellow liquid continued to flow from the wound, where suppuration had already occurred. The Thunderbird is a large magical creature. The danger level given by the Ministry of Magic is 4 stars, which is only 1 star lower than dangerous animals such as fire dragons, acromantulas, and basilisks. This is based on the fact that the Thunderbird has a gentle temperament and does not like to attack others at will. In terms of destructive power, the Thunderbird is a proper 5-star magical animal. After looking at the word pregnant for a few more times, Louis suddenly had an idea in his mind: can I buy this Thunderbird? A Thunderbird alone is not scary, a well-trained Auror team is enough to defeat any 5-star magical animal. But with the assistance of an Auror-level wizard, Thunderbird can explode to twice or even 3 times its strength. If they can't beat them, they can still find an opportunity to fly away. As long as they don't encounter a powerful wizard like Professor McGonagall, they can be said to be basically invincible. Judging from the look of the shop owner, he probably doesn't know that the ptarmigan is pregnant. He only knows that it is in very bad condition and will die soon. He hopes that someone will jump out to take over. Louis rubbed his smooth chin as he calculated the store owner's psychological price. The price of a healthy adult Thunderbird is about 2,000 gold galleons. Considering that it was poached, it is impossible to have any formal procedures, and it can only be sold for about half to a quarter of the normal price. Considering her physical condition, Louis felt that 6,500 gold galleons, or even lower, was the shop owner's psychological price. If it were lower, it would be almost as expensive as the materials on the Thunderbird. According to the market price, the materials on the Thunderbird are cheaper than the Fire Dragon, but a Thunderbird can also be sold for more than 4,000 gold galleons. Mr. Shopkeeper. Louis walked up to the shopkeeper. Do you want to sell this big guy for 6,000 galleons? Alvin Burke raised his head. You want it? That's a Thunderbird. 6,000 galleons are just a joke. You should also know that it is in very bad condition. Besides, do you have a complete set of sales procedures? I remember that Thunderbird is not included in the sales range. Louis replied, not to be outdone. Alvin Burke's face darkened. It seemed that he had met an expert. He even knew that the International Wizarding Organization did not allow the sale of Thunderbirds. In fact, Louis didn't understand the wizard sales standards at all. He just used a few introductions about Thunderbirds in his past life memories to scare Alvin Burke. Who said that its condition is not good? It was just soothed by magic. Don't talk nonsense, kid. Alvin Burke habitually quibbled. You think I'm blind? You didn't see the wound on the wing, right? As it is, whether it can survive today is a question. Damn it, are there wounds on the wings? Why didn't I see them? Although he did not see the wound in Louis' mouth with his own eyes, Alvin Burke already believed what Louis said in his heart. At least 8,000 galleons, 6,000 is too little. Only 6,000. I'll give you an extra 100 at most. 8,000, no less. After some fierce bargaining, the final price came to 6,800 gold galleons. This is also thanks to Fleur. If she hadn't arrived in time with a Persian cat in her arms and persuaded Louis not to be impulsive and wanted him to give up the idea of buying a Thunderbird, the price would have been higher. In addition to this big guy, I also want 2 gifts, the Persian cat and this little thing. As he spoke, Louis mentioned a pure white puppy. He just found this little guy in a cage next to the Thunderbird. You are making things a bit difficult for me now. Well, 6,800 gold galleons, clear them on the spot, and they will be yours. Louis snapped his fingers, and the next second, a house elf in a tuxedo appeared behind Louis. Catchy, give Mr. Shopkeeper some galleons, and then take this big guy back to my aunt's castle. By the way. Treat the wounds on its wings by the way. Louis ordered. Your will, Master Louis. Keiki bowed slightly. Chapter 8. Let's go, just leave it to Keiki. Louis picked up Bai Long and came to Fleur. White Dragon is the name Louis gave the little white dog. If the system is correct, he should be a rare snow mastiff. Name, Bai Long. Race, Snow Mastiff, Tibetan Mastiff, /infancy. Status, slightly injured / anxious / fearful. Under the little guy's thick fur, there are several cylindrical scars, which must have been scratched out by the claws of some large raptor. What's wrong with you? Why did you spend so much money on it? Fleur whispered into Louis' ear. 6,800 gold galleons. Fleur had never seen so much money in her life. It was almost enough for their family to live for 10 years. It was too much to spend so much money to buy a dying Thunderbird. What a loss. What the hell? Let's have Thunderbird barbecue tonight. Louis put a free hand on Fleu's soft waist. pretending to be like a rich second generation who spends money to chase girls. He is indeed a rich second generation, and the Lestrange family's treasury is filled with galleons. Dry, you know how to pick up girls at such a young age, damn nobility, Alvin Berg cursed in his heart. The pet shop was so quiet that no sound could escape his ears. After helping the Stifler out of the pet shop and walking to the center of the street, and making sure that Alvin Berg couldn't hear what they were saying, Louis reluctantly put down his right hand on Fleur. Sorry. Fleur, can I explain it properly when I get back? Louis apologized quickly. Humph. Fleur pouted, her slightly red face showing her uneasiness in her heart. She decided not to talk to Louis for a day, no, for half a day. Who allowed him to touch the waist of a lady without her permission? Is that place allowed to be touched casually? On the cross-shaped Wizard Street, a very beautiful girl walked in front with a blushing face. Behind her was a cute boy who was dancing and explaining something. Seeing this scene, the wizard walking next to them couldn't help but smile knowingly, and sincerely wished the little boy could coax his girlfriend well. This situation changed when they reached the door of Mrs. Russell's bookstore. Fleur turned around and picked up By Long with Louis' expectant eyes, holding the two little cuties in each hand. Louis smiled bitterly and walked into the bookstore. He thought that Fleur had forgiven him, but it turned out that she was helping him free up her hands to facilitate the transportation of teaching materials. After saying hello to Mrs. Russell, Louis came outside carrying a book half as tall as a man. Fleur was already waiting for him outside the fireplace. A green light flashed and the two returned to Anne's castle. Catchy had already brought the Thunderbird back and was outside treating the wounds on its wings, with two smaller house elves assisting it. Putting the textbook in the corner of the living room, Louis walked towards the stairs. Fleur went upstairs as soon as she came back, without giving him any chance to explain. In the room on the second floor, Fleur was giving milkshakes to her pets to introduce new companions. As soon as the two Persian cats saw the same kind, they immediately started to fight each other. There is only one warm embrace of the owner, and there is no room for two identical Persian cats. It wasn't until they smelled the familiar scent of each other that the situation eased, and they tentatively kissed each other's noses. Dong dong dong, Miss Fleur, can I come in? Please give me a chance to explain, please. Louis begged outside the door. Humph. Fleur rolled her eyes angrily, this is your home, come in if you want. When she said this, Louis was a little afraid to go in, then I'll tell you outside the door. The biggest reason I bought her was because the ptarmigan was pregnant. When I was in the pet store, I was afraid that the owner would hear her, and my head would twitch. I'm sorry. There was silence in the room for a long time. Louis, who was standing outside the door, had a face filled with regret. He subconsciously clenched his fists, his fingernails embedded deeply into his flesh, and bright red blood flowed down along the lines of his palms. You can come in if I ask you to come in. I have to invite you in person, right? Fleur finally forgave Louis. Like Louis, she didn't want to lose any friend, let alone a close friend like Louis. Ah, why are you bleeding? Looking at the dark red blood on the floor, Fleur screamed and quickly pulled Louis into the room. It's okay, it's just a few minor wounds. I'll drink some healing potion and it'll be fine soon. Only then did Louis notice the wound on his palm, and the strength on his fist relaxed slightly, allowing Fleur to pluck her fingers out of her palm one by one. Such a deep wound, and you still say it's okay. Fleur glared at him, where is the healing potion? I'll get it for you. Well, on the table in my room, there is a bottle of super powerful healing potion that was successfully refined yesterday. It is in a blue bottle and is about 20 centimeters high. Is this Louis' room? It's quite clean. Didn't the book say that boys' rooms are messy? There is no strange smell like the one mentioned in the book. The lavender scent coming from the shop is as good as the smell in Annie's room. Louis' room was very simple. Apart from the large bed in the center and the wardrobe against the wall, the largest piece of furniture was a yellow pear wood table. Fleur's eyes slid over the green plants and finally stopped at a table filled with greenery. On the potion bottle. Holding the porcelain bottle and returning to his room, Louis was teasing the three little guys in the room. His technique of petting the cat was very stiff, but the force was well controlled, at least it didn't make Milkshake feel uncomfortable. Don't get the blood on your hands, Harry. It's hard to take care of. Come here quickly and I'll help you take care of it. Fleur rolled her eyes at Louis and said coquettishly. Louis moved his hand away from the milkshake as if nothing had happened. Fleur arrived too late, and the blood had already stuck to it. In the midst of nagging accusations, Fleur took care of the wound on Louis' hand, dripped the super healing potion on the wound, and then took 3 pints of the potion orally. The bloody hole on his hand healed quickly, and they returned it casually. Bei Long fed him a spoonful of healing potion. Is this the potion you made yourself? Potion Master. Potion Master was the nickname given to Louis by Fleur when they were chatting in Honeyduke's shop. She thought Louis was joking at the time, but she didn't expect that he really liked potions. At the age of 11, he was already a junior potions master. Thinking about it again, Fleur's face turned red with embarrassment. I was lucky yesterday afternoon and I accidentally practiced it. Seeing the humble smile on Louis' face, Fleur felt an inexplicable anger rising in her heart. I'll give you good luck, I won't let you be careful. Good luck. Have you ever considered the feelings of us bad students? Chapter 9. The atmosphere became strange for a moment. Apart from the sounds of the little guys playing, Fleur and Louis didn't know what to say. Master Louis, the wound on the Thunderbird's wing has been treated. Do you need me to prepare barbecue supplies? Keiki's voice came from outside the door. Don't prepare the barbecue supplies yet. Feed her some food. Miss Fleur and I will go downstairs to see her right away. Barbecue supplies, didn't he just say it casually? How could this guy Keiki take it seriously? Your wish. Master Louis. Keiki saluted outside the door, and then quickly teleported to the grass outside the castle. He had to take safety measures in advance to prevent the Thunderbirds from hurting the 2 nobles. To the northwest of the castle, in the center of a farm covered with abundant pasture, nestled a huge ptarmigan. The wool and blood stains on its beak indicated that it had just eaten a live sheep not long ago. 3 house elves guarded the Thunderbird, applying a sleeping spell to it from time to time to ensure that the Thunderbird would not wake up while Louis and the 2 watched. This step is actually not necessary. According to Thunderbird's current weak physical condition, whether she can open her wings is a problem, let alone hurt Louis and the others. A group of 3 people walked out of the castle. Fleur and Anne walked hand in hand in front, leaving Louis alone to follow them. When Louis and Fleur went downstairs, Anne, who cast the phantom spell, happened to teleport home. When she heard that Louis had bought a pregnant ptarmigan, Anne immediately said that she also wanted to visit the ptarmigan. This guy is so big, I wish I could have a Thunderbird of my own. What do you think, Louis? Anne frantically hinted to Louis. Looking at the giant beast in front of her that was bigger than the cabin, Anne couldn't help but feel a little jealous. She also wanted a Thunderbird. TCH. If you want Thunderbird, just say it. Why go around in such a long way? Louis, who was following Annie, rolled his eyes and said rather speechlessly. So you said yes. Yeah. I have a Thunderbird too. Don't be too happy. The eggs are still in her belly. Seeing as she looks like she might see God at any time, whether we can get the Thunderbird eggs is a question. What's the point? Just find some experts on magical animals and let them take care of the Thunderbirds. Fleur said nonchalantly. Louis had a fox-like smile on his face, and Anne took the bait. Recruiting several magical creature researchers was a very difficult task for Louis, but in the hands of Anne, who was in charge of the Lestrange family network, it was just a matter of words. There are several well-known magical animal researchers in the wizarding family under the Lestrange family. All the contact information of these people is in Anne's hands. She will not transfer power to Louis until he grows up. It's not that Anne is greedy for power, but that Louis is too young to control the unruly wizards below. Dinner was a roasted whole lamb, and Annie asked Keiki to kill a goat. The cattle and sheep in the pasture were very fat. One goat alone weighed more than 300 kilograms, which was enough for the 3 of them to eat 2 meals. Early the next morning, the house elves transported the Thunderbird to another place, a mountain farm in central France, where 3 magical beasts researchers will take care of the Thunderbird until she lays the egg. After their preliminary examination, they concluded that Thunderbird's physical condition was very bad, and even using various precious potions could only extend her life by 1 month. However, the eggs in Thunderbird's belly have already matured, but she has suffered too much stimulation recently and has not been able to lay the eggs. Annie, who was at home on leave, quickly replied, "Don't worry about the consumption of potions, try your best to save the Thunderbird, and at least let her lay the eggs safely." The energetic researchers of magical creatures responded with a pat on the back, using their own unique means to soothe the Thunderbird and allow her to lay the eggs within a short period of time. Their only request was to give them a chance to study the body of the Thunderbird. This was the first time they had close contact with the Thunderbird, a magical animal unique to North America. After receiving a satisfactory reply, Anne readily agreed. The Thunderbird corpse was of no use to her anyway, so she might as well use it to buy the loyalty of this group of intellectuals. In the evening of the next day, the magical beast researchers suddenly sent a message that Thunderbird was about to give birth. Annie, who happened to be off work, asked Keiki to take them and teleport together to the farm where Thunderbird was. This is a small farm located in the middle of two valleys. The surrounding mountains for hundreds of miles are the property of the Lestrange family. The Thunderbirds were placed on the edge of the cliff. Magi zoologists said that the Thunderbirds, like ordinary birds, like to build their nests in high places. This can give them a sense of security. Except for Kachi and his two house elves, the other wizards stood far away, observing the situation in the wooden birdhouse on the farm at the bottom of the cliff. Each wizard has a glass ball in front of him. If he inputs magic power into it, the cue ball placed in the Thunderbird's nest will automatically record the situation in the nest and appear on the surface of the glass ball. Thunderbird's mental state is obviously much better than yesterday. The Magi zoologists gave her a psychostimulant drug, similar to adrenaline. 2 eggs. After laying these 2 eggs, the Thunderbird seemed to have lost most of its vitality. Its body swayed and fell to the ground. After a while, it lost its breath. The Magi zoologists quickly checked the health of the Thunderbird egg, and after ensuring it was correct, handed it over to Kachi, who teleported it back to the castle for unified placement. Next, they will dissect the Thunderbird's body, with the house elf watching over the process to make sure they don't hide anything valuable. In the specially cleaned incubation room of the old castle, the 3 of them sat cross-legged next to 2 1-meter-high Thunderbird eggs. These are Thunderbird eggs. As agreed, you will have 1 and I will have 1, and 1 of the eggs is mine. Anne couldn't wait to declare her sovereignty over 1 of the eggs. Don't worry about working on it for several days and getting nothing in the end. It would be a big loss. Okay, these are all your letters, right? Is it necessary to distinguish them so clearly? Louis said angrily, does he seem like the kind of guy who doesn't talk about credibility? My sister Anne, you have repeated this sentence dozens of times. If Louis doesn't bother me, I will be annoyed. Fleur smiled and joked that she was a girl who understood the importance of things. Although she envied Louis and Anne for having a Thunderbird egg, Fleur understood that it was not hers. Thunderbird eggs are so valuable that Fleur doesn't even dare to think about them. Anne and Louis, the aunt and nephew, could afford to raise a Thunderbird, but for an ordinary wizarding family, just 1 year's food expenses would drive them bankrupt. Chapter 10. On August 31st, in the early morning, a drizzle enveloped the green earth. The red Ferrari sports car raced on the Pyrenees Mountains, winding around the winding mountain road, and the sports car came to the other side of the Pyrenees Mountains. An old castle occupying more than half of the mountain appeared at the end of the road. The castle is called Beauxbatons Castle and is the largest and most famous public school in Western Europe. Hundreds of young wizards graduate from here every year. Beauxbatons Castle is divided into 2 areas, the inner and outer areas. The inner city area is the teaching area, where the teaching buildings and canteens are located. It is also the original Beauxbatons Castle, which was built in the 16th century AD. The outer city is the living area, where the student market and student dormitories are located. It was built under the sponsorship of famous alumni Nicolas May and his wife. The inner and outer cities are separated by a towering magic wall. Anne and Fleur spoke together, introducing Louis to the origins of Beauxbatons Castle. After driving through the exquisitely carved outer city gate and bypassing the huge flammel fountain, the Ferrari broke into the inner city area amidst the roar of its cylinders. There are several magic carriages parked here. Judging from the noble patterns on the carriages, they are the vehicles of several other saint families in France. The saint family is a specific name that emerged after Grindelwald's defeat. It is specifically used to refer to the nobles behind the high-level saints. They are the key monitoring targets of the Ministry of Magic. In the Aura organization under the jurisdiction of the Department of Magical Enforcement, there are 5 of them all year round. Aura teams are monitoring the families. Just like Louis, the French Ministry of Magic does not allow him to have any family education, not even asking a potions master to teach Louis potions. If there was someone to guide him, Louis would have become a junior potion master long ago. Families of saints, or descendants of sinners, can only receive education and guidance in public schools. Officials from the Ministry of Magic believe that doing so can reduce the possibility of young wizards being brainwashed by evil thoughts, thereby reducing the probability of dark wizards appearing. To a certain extent, this idea does have merit. Many descendants of dark wizards have been raised as useless people. They only know how to enjoy life at home without any enterprising spirit, and the crime rate naturally goes down. Please come with Bush Sr., 3 distinguished guests. As soon as Louis and the 3 got out of the sports car, there was a house elf wearing a green hood and the raven emblem of the Lestrange family printed on his shirt. Appear before them. The elf waved his hand and lifted it up, and 5 suitcases flew out of the trunk of the sports car and landed on the carriage pulled by 2 flying horses behind it. After Louis and the other 3 got on the carriage, the elf drove the Pegasus towards the Zicken district, where the girls' dormitory building is located. They had to place Fla's luggage first. Beauxbatons College is a standard 2-person dormitory. There are 12 dormitories in a 3-story small building. Fleur lived with another girl. The girl hadn't come yet. After putting their luggage, they flew to Louis' dormitory. It was a small independent villa, surrounded by coniferous forests more than 10 meters high. A newly built gravel path connected the villa to the inner city. Considering Louis' mother, no young wizard wanted to stay with the son of a vampire demon, so Beauxbatons College built this villa specifically for Louis. It can be seen from the resentful expression on Anne's face that she is dissatisfied with this special treatment, because in the entire North City, except for the forest rangers, few people will enter here. Beauxbatons outer city is divided into 4 areas, southeast, northwest, and northwest. The West City area is the girls' dormitory area, where more than 500 ladies live here. The North City area is similar to the Forbidden Forest of Hogwarts. The East City area is the boys' dormitory area. Nearly 500 wizards live here, and Nanchang district is the Fangxi area. Anne's sports car came from Nanchang district. It's okay, Annie, isn't this great? The space is so big and no one will bother me. If you really want me to live with others, maybe I won't get used to it. Louis shrugged and said nonchalantly. But Annie wanted to say something else. Stop it, come and help me pack my luggage. The 2 little guys have been in the suitcase all morning. I'm afraid they have long wanted to come out and do some activities. As Louis spoke, he knelt down and opened the first suitcase on the left. Rice Ball and Bai Long jumped out and ran out. Rice Ball was the Persian cat that Fleur brought back from the store. It was a little male cat, Fleur. The Milkshake is a little female cat. Louis lives alone, so he doesn't have to worry about others finding out that he has one more pet than others, which saves him a lot of trouble. At 6 o'clock in the afternoon, wizards dressed in formal attire gathered in the Alchemy Auditorium in the inner city. Thousands of young wizards gathered together. Except for large schools like Beauxbatons, only the World Quidditch Tournament could bring together so many wizards. Come on! The tall Mrs. Maxim sat in the center of the auditorium, and more than 30 professors sat on both sides of Mrs. Maxim. They were famous academic masters in Western Europe and a group of great people with selfless dedication. Fleur and Louis were sitting in an inconspicuous corner, talking to each other. What's next? Didn't Sister Anne go to the college leaders to settle the score? Fleur asked curiously. They were talking about Anne's reaction after seeing the villa. At that time, Fleur was packing her luggage and did not see Anne's performance with her own eyes. What? After she helped me clean up the room, she received the news from Kachi, and then she hurried home. Judging from Keiki's tone, it seemed that a group of Aurors came to the castle to ask about the Thunderbirds. Keiki didn't know how to answer them, so he had to send a message to Anne and let her go back to deal with it. It's boring. I also want to watch Sister Anne fight against the college professor. Fleur pouted her lovely lips. She has not seen Sister Anne's strength yet. A witch with such a heroic appearance must be very powerful. Just her. Louis covered his head. It wasn't that he was belittling Anne, but that Anne's strength was so weak that he couldn't use it at all. Without the use of magic items, she might not even be able to defeat an Auror, let alone an academy professor. Of course, with the help of money skills, Anne is still very capable of fighting. A dozen alchemy bombs can be taken out at any time. Not to mention ordinary Aurors, even the elite Aurors, those who wander around the death line all year round, are not willing to fight for their lives against a warrior with money abilities like her. Ah! Ahem! Welcome to Beauxbatons Academy of Witchcraft and Wizardry. I am your principal, Madame Maxime. Madame Maxime put her wand against her throat, and her voice spread throughout the hall under the influence of the amplification spell. Chapter 11. Beauxbatons Academy is a magical school with a long history. Unlike Hogwarts Academy, our school does not have a branch system. All students are classmates in the same academy. Blah blah blah. As soon as Mrs. Maxim finished speaking, a chorus of applause immediately echoed through the entire auditorium. In contrast, 1 month later, you will take a placement test and you will be divided into different classes based on your test scores. Blah blah blah. The applause rang out again, but the voices of many first-year students were missing. They were looking around and discussing, wanting to know information about the placement test. Placement test? Which class are you in? It can't be the worst class. Louis approached Fleur and joked with a mean expression that if she could represent Beauxbatons Academy in the Triwizard Tournament 6 years later, Fleur would naturally not be in the worst class. What nonsense are you talking about? I was the number 1 in last year's test, but you, don't be assigned to the worst class, otherwise the Lestrange family's face will probably be lost to you. Fleur said lightly. He responded with a smile. She is a student in Class A, which is the best class in the college. It only admits 20 students and enjoys the best treatment in the college. To put it simply, they enjoy the benefits first, and then distribute them to other classes after they have finished enjoying them. The tedious and troublesome things are left to other classes. Students in Class A only need to focus on magic learning. This year's entrance test is divided into 2 stages. The first is the wild hunting stage, which will be held in a jungle at the foot of the mountain. The second is the talent show stage. The more outstanding talents you show, the more bonus points you will get. Fleur, were you like this last year? Louis asked curiously after hearing Mrs. Maxim's introduction. Last year we competed on knowledge reserve and talent show. The year before last it seemed to be an arena competition and talent show. Well, then the year Sister Anne entered school, the competition was on the power of spells and talent show. Sister Anne was the no. Point 1. During last year's entrance exam, Fleur took a total of 8 test papers, and then successfully refined a magic amulet with weak magical power during the talent show stage, which narrowly defeated the number 2 at the time with a very small advantage. In addition to the talent show stage, the entrance test items are different every year. Just like this year, the competition is mostly about the hard skills of the young wizards. The hunting stage in the wild adopts a points system. The exchange table will be posted at noon tomorrow. I won't introduce it too much here. You can choose to hunt beasts or hunting companions. As soon as these words came out, the young wizards who were still discussing forming a team suddenly became silent and looked at others with wary eyes. Every time you defeat a little wizard, you will get half of the points in his hand. The competition lasts for 3 days. Except for 1 day's food and wands, you are not allowed to bring anything with magic power. After Mrs. Maxim finished speaking, several talented young wizards who had minds at home grimaced. 80% of their strength was in magic props. If they couldn't use magic props, it would be difficult for them to keep up with the other young wizards. You can't use magic items. It's not fair. This is too good for you. Flea's scream attracted the attention of some young wizards. Fortunately, the location chosen by Louis was remote enough, and they only heard the words unfair. I'm going to die. Why are you shouting so loudly? Louis quickly lowered his head to avoid the gazes cast by the little wizards in the corner. He did not want to become the focus of the whole school. The focus character always has only 2 endings, either he drinks the strongest wine and marries the best girl, or he gets the most severe beating and is sent to the crematorium by a bunch of people at the beginning. If you don't have the life of the legendary protagonist, it's better not to get involved with the focus. At least you can save your life, right? That's what it was. Fleur muttered. She had not forgotten the scene she saw when she got out of bed and went to the bathroom yesterday morning. Louis Animal was able to lift a large blue stone weighing about 400 kilograms. He even did 3 squats while lifting the stone, which scared Fleur so much that she thought she was still dreaming. With his abnormal physical fitness, coupled with Louis's level of alchemy refining at the junior potion master level, no matter which one it is enough to send him to Class A. There was a wizard in Flea's class, and his test scores were extremely poor. However, he refined an elementary level magic item on the spot and was immediately recommended to Class A. He is still in Class A today. Beauxbatons College adopts a rotation system. Once the final exam is over every year, the number of students in Class A must be rescreened. Those who do slightly worse will be replaced in other classes. Only the top 20 students, or students with special skills, can stay in Class A. I declare that the dinner party has officially begun. Mrs. Maxim waved her hand, and countless dishes appeared on the long table covered with white cloth. Just like a Muggle banquet, the little wizards could move around and pick out the dishes they liked. That guy is so weird. He took so much, can he finish it all by himself? Yeah, it feels like I haven't eaten in a few lifetimes. It's so vulgar. Louis, who was being pointed at, walked back to the corner where they were just now with a face that was enough for 9 people, where Fleur sat covering her face. I'm so stupid, really, I shouldn't have let Louis go get the food. Fleur regretted it so much now that she wished she could find a crack in the ground to crawl in, so that at least she wouldn't be as dead as she was now. Eat, why bother with so much, they will get used to it sooner or later anyway. Louis said with a blushing face. He doesn't want to eat so much. 1 or 2 days is fine. If he eats less than million points, he will treat it as starving to lose weight. But he has to stay here for 7 years, and sooner or later, others will know how much he eats. Humph. That's good now, I got killed by you. Fleur put down her hands in despair, and decided to turn her grief and anger into food, eat 1 more bowl of rice, and starve Louis, the little bastard, to death. It was already 9:30 when the dinner ended, and the little wizards walked back to their dormitories in groups of 2s and 3s, guided by the magic street lights. Fleur and her roommate left together. It could be seen from the gossipy look on the girl's face that most of the topics they talked about were related to Louis. The further north you go, the more deserted the environment becomes. When Louis walks out of the northern city gate, he is the only one left on the entire road. Boss, has he discovered us? Why did he come to Balin Garden? Keep your voice down, idiot, you want him to find us, don't you? Not far behind Louis, several figures were sneakily hiding in the shadow of the city gate, discussing something in a low voice. Chapter 12. We are hiding so secretly, how could we be discovered by him? The boy who was called the boss whispered that for this ambush, they left the dinner half an hour early in order to prevent Louis from discovering anything unusual. Besides, what if he finds us? There are 5 of us here. No matter how powerful he is, he can still defeat 5 of us by himself. Recalling the pain 3 days ago, a flash of fear flashed in Mr. Marino's eyes. He felt that his hand hurt as much as if it were broken. 3 days passed, and his fear of Louis was gradually suppressed by hatred. At this time, he no longer cared that the Lestrange family behind Louis was an old antique family that had long since declined, and it could not be compared with the Marino family. The Marino family just wants to sing a song to Mr. Longcy Marino, thank you. Because of you, the Marino family will most likely be destroyed by the Lestrange family. Going in. That kid went in. Isn't he afraid of the magical animals in the forest garden? No matter, let's follow, we can't let that kid run away. Mr. Marino took the lead and rushed out of the city gate, and the 4 younger brothers followed after hesitating for a while. It's so annoying. I have to walk a long way home every day. Louis kept complaining while walking on the gravel road. The time he spent walking was almost enough for him to read a whole page of the potions book. As for the unusual movement behind him, although Louis paid attention to it, he didn't know what the source of the movement was. After walking more than 700 meters along the winding gravel road, Louis finally saw the pointed roof of the villa. At this moment, a series of noisy footsteps came from behind Louis, followed by a slightly familiar voice. That's it, brothers, hurry up and finish your work, and then go back for supper. I'm going to treat you tonight. Brother is proud. The 4 boys said in unison, and their rough voices woke up many birds, causing them to move to their nests in the middle of the night. So it's you, the young master of the Marino family. Don't you think the lesson I taught you that day was enough? Through the sparse moonlight, Louis recognized the identity of the person who was coming. It was Mr. Roncy Marino, whom he had easily defeated at the Wizards' Fair 3 days ago. Ah! If you hadn't attacked me sneakily, how could I have been defeated by you? Mr. Marino launched a racial technique, reversing right and wrong. Louis shook his head after hearing this. Are all Europeans so shameless? He was so ruthless that he even scolded himself. Louis had broken through the pinnacle of ruthlessness and reached the level of wolf killer. You guys come together, I have to go home and do my homework. Putting the wand back into the wand pouch, Louis took a defensive stance with his hands free. Whoa! You damn brat, I'm going to kill you. Master Marino threw his wand angrily. His wand was broken like this last time. Mr. Marino, blinded by anger, forgot about the strength gap between him and Louis, and rushed towards Louis first, with his 4 younger brothers following closely behind him. In their simple minds, Louis is just a skinny little guy in the 1st grade. Anyone can defeat him, let alone 5 people together. The arrogant little wizards even forgot to use their wands, or maybe they didn't dare to use them. Beauxbatons Academy stipulates that anyone who uses magic to attack classmates will have a certain number of points deducted during class placement. After experiencing a tragic point deduction, they no longer dare to use magic at will like last year. A 6-point uppercut hit Renzi Marino in the stomach and sent him 5 meters away. Mr. Marino came and left very quickly. Seeing the miserable state of their eldest brother, the younger brothers swallowed their saliva at the same time. The eldest brother was the best at beating him. They didn't know what kind of beating they would get from Louis when they went up. Louis will not tolerate them. For him, fallen enemies are the best enemies. He took the initiative to take 2 steps forward, used a left hook and a right whip to deal with the 2 younger brothers, and then looked at the other 2 younger brothers. "Brother, uncle, my lord. Can you let us go? I promise not to tell the truth." One of the boy's legs became weak when he saw him, and he knelt down on the ground, kowtowing to Louis while begging for mercy. "Damn you guy, you didn't even remind me to ask for mercy." The other boy cursed secretly and soon fell to his knees on the gravel road. "It's boring, take them back." Seeing their cowardly looks, Louis lost his mind to teach them a lesson, and after saying a word, he turned and walked towards the villa. "Is he gone?" "I don't know, he must have left." After a long time, the 2 younger brothers dared to raise their heads from the ground. Well, the big devil was gone. What should they do? "The 2 of us alone can't lift them up. Why don't you try the floating spell? By the way, how do you recite the floating spell?" Yugardim, I forgot the rest." The 2 guys sat on the ground and thought for a long time before recalling the complete spell of the floating spell, and stumbled towards Dongcheng district with the 3 unconscious guys. After teasing Rice Ball and Bai Long for a while, he slowly simmered a pot of powerful healing potion in the potion room, consolidating his status as a junior potion master. Louis lay on the soft bed, closed his eyes and began to reflect on today's actions. At 7 o'clock the next morning, Louis opened his eyes on time, exercised on the balcony on the 2nd floor of the villa until 7:30, and then took a 10-minute shower. When they went downstairs, Fanchuan and Bai Long were still asleep. They cuddled up and slept on the wool carpet, leaving them a day's supply of special pet food. Louis quietly closed the door and walked towards the inner city with his textbooks. He has 3 classes today: History of Magic in the morning, from 9 to 11, Charms in the afternoon, from 1 to 3, and Herbal Medicine, from 3:30 to 5:30. The schedule is full. Among the corresponding courses corresponding to the 8 books, except for Charms, the other 7 courses are taught once a week, and Charms is taught twice a week. Louis also has flying classes and astronomy classes this semester, which are held every 2 weeks. This week is flying classes and next week there are astronomy classes. In other words, they have 10 classes every week. For these little wizards who have not yet been divided into classes, Beauxbatons Academy adopts a large class system, and everyone has to squeeze into the same classroom to attend classes. You must arrive at the classroom at least half an hour in advance, otherwise it will be difficult for you to find a suitable seat. As a person who has been there, Fleur gave a warm reminder during the dinner yesterday. She had suffered such a disadvantage before. She was just a few minutes late and the good seats were taken by others. She could only stand or sit at the back to listen to the class. But sitting in the last few rows, apart from the noise in front, I could barely hear the teacher's voice. Chapter 13. It was just after 8 o'clock, and there were already many students in the cafeteria. Asking the house elf for 10 sandwiches, 3 glasses of milk, and 10 fried eggs, Louis decided to eat less this morning, that's all. He eats very quickly, but his dining etiquette is very standardized, making it impossible for anyone to find fault with him. Under the surprised looks of the little wizards, Louis only spent less than 10 minutes finishing his breakfast. There were still 5 to 10 minutes of free time before class, which was enough for Louis to find the History of Magic classroom. It was a large classroom on the 3rd floor of the castle. In the huge classroom, you can vaguely see traces of its time as an auditorium. Choosing a seat in the 2nd row against the wall, Louis took out Standard Spells, Elementary from his magic pocket and began to preview the knowledge of the magic class. The first spell is the levitation spell, Wingardium Leviosa. In addition to the pronunciation notes of the spell, there is also a corresponding picture analysis. Ahem, Louis cleared his throat, took out the dragon wand from his wand bag, and prepared to cast the levitating spell on the table in front of him. Wingardium Leviosa, after reciting the spell once, when he went back to compare it with the standard pronunciation in the spell book, Louis found many problems. He recited it too fast, and there should be a pause between the two spells. The second pause was enough, but the pronunciation was not standard and the floating spell was still not cast. The third time. It wasn't until 10 minutes later that the two girls walked into the classroom together. Louis took back his wand and spells textbook, put the history of magic textbook as thick as a brick on the table, propped his head on his hands and fell into deep thought. What's wrong? The spell? Or is there something wrong with the way I wave my wand? In just 10 minutes, Louis experimented with the levitation spell more than 20 times. Except for one of them where he was lucky enough to mobilize magic power, all the others failed. He kept thinking about the afternoon spells class, and Louis didn't think clearly about the reason for his failure. Their charms teacher was a tall witch. Although not as tall as the half-giant Madame Maxime, she was still nearly 2 meters tall. Turn the spell textbook in your hands to the third page. Today we are going to learn the levitation spell. Pick up your wand, come and say with me, Wingardium Leviosa. Charms teacher Laura Richards cast a spell on the feathers in front of her, and the white feathers floated steadily in the air. Louis looked at the wand in Laura's hand intently. He found that when Laura waved the wand, the amplitude was not very large, and it was firmly controlled within a space on her chest that was smaller than half a book. Oh! Look, her feathers are moving. Suddenly there was an exclamation in the middle of the classroom. The little wizards looked towards the source of the sound. A little red-haired witch waved her wand, and the white goose feathers slowly rose from the table under the power of the spell. Damn stray dog, Louis cursed secretly, gathered his mind, and pressed the dragon wand against the white goose feathers on the wooden table. Wingardium Leviosa. The dragon drew a graceful arc in mid-air, and Louis felt a strange power surge toward the dragon wand. It was an instinct engraved in his bones, as natural and comfortable as blood flow. The magic power flows through the dragon wand and converges to the top of the wand under the conduction of the dragon's nerves. The moment the wand stops, the magic power transforms into a strange force. This is the power of the levitation spell. Louis instantly understood how power was generated. He controlled the power slightly clumsily. Just lifting the goose feather from the table gave Louis a feeling of strenuousness, a kind of mental strenuousness. And here. The big eater has also raised his feathers. Ah! Louis looked at the girl sitting next to him in shock. Although I did eat a little too much, there is no need to describe me as a big eater. The witch stuck out her tongue and had an apologetic expression on her face. I understand, it turns out that the more you eat, the stronger you become. This one is even more of a heavyweight. Hey, don't draw any strange conclusions. Listening to the little wizard's shocking remarks, Louis couldn't help but complain in his heart. Name, Louis Lestrange. Mana, 23/37, mana is being lost. Skill, floating spell, 12 points of magic power/time, consumes 1 point of magic power per second during maintenance. He casually cast a detection spell on himself and looked at the new skill bar that appeared in the personal template and the standard floating spell inside. Louis couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He finally learned his first spell. In the infirmary of the inner city of Beauxbatons castle, 3 12-year-old boys were crowded on the same hospital bed. It was Longxi and his men. The 3 unlucky children have been unconscious since last night. The 2 younger brothers who are still intact have already asked for leave for them. I just wonder if they will be able to keep up with their studies in the future after missing 1 lesson. Little bastard of the Lestrange family, wait for me, if I can't deal with you, I can't deal with the friends around you, right? Tears flowed from the corners of his eyes unsatisfactorily. Longxi Marino was in pain, it hurts like a hole in my stomach. He woke up at noon, and then passed out from pain several times. Sometimes he even thought that it would be great if he died, so that he would not feel the pain, but he did not die. During the period of sobriety, an evil plan gradually took shape in his mind. Since I can't get you, then I will destroy you, and no one will want you, especially the bastards of the Lestrange family. Parvati, which stupid woman doesn't like to target Fleur? Just ask her to help me clean up Fleur. This time I will make Fleur pay the price. Mr. Longxi, who never likes to use his brain, actually learned to devise a conspiracy behind his back to harm others under the threat of Louis' force. Is this progress or regression? Units prepare. The Big Eater is about to arrive on the battlefield. Who is the Big Eater? Is there such a person in our school? You don't even know about him. This year's first-year freshman, I heard that he ate more than 20 buckets of rice by himself. Only more than 20 barrels? Didn't it mean that just cooking for him would exhaust 2 house elves to death? 2 house elves are exhausted. How good they are at eating. This rumor became more and more bizarre as it spread, and by the time Louis walked into the cafeteria, it was already rumored that he was going to eat a dragon and 5 house elves for a meal. Why are you all looking at me? Is there something on my face? Louis thought doubtfully. The little wizards in the cafeteria, including the house elves, all put down their work and looked at Louis with expectation, fear, or curiosity. Chapter 14. Don't worry about me. Just do whatever you want. Help! The big devil is going to eat the elves, and Durami has already been eaten by him. Run! The shrill voice resounded through the entire cafeteria, and the elves who delivered the food shivered. Their lives were not as important as their work. They dropped their plates one after another and cast spells to teleport back to the gathering point of the house elves at the bottom of the castle. The elf named Durami had a confused face. Didn't it just bend down and pick up something? Why was it eaten by the big devil? Afterwards, an elf who did not want to be named revealed that it was the fastest and smoothest time in its life when it used teleportation magic. Am I that scary? Louis stood there awkwardly. Who could tell him what happened? Why didn't he know at all? In the end, with the joint efforts of Louis and Durami, the misunderstanding was finally solved. Ha 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 ha, you're going to kill me with laughter, aren't you? I told you not to eat so much, now you're fine, maybe you've been misunderstood. No, I'm going to tell Sister Annie to make her happy too. My sister Fleur. I beg you, please stop laughing. Louis, who was fully armed, begged. The weather was too hot for others to wear shirts and thin pants. Louis not only wore an airtight wizard's robe, but also covered his face with a hood and sunglasses. It was so hot that he was sweating all over. Louis originally didn't want to go out, but the small misunderstanding at dinner yesterday afternoon made him a well-known figure in the school. No matter where he went, people pointed at Louis and said something. But Fleur, this girl, insisted on pulling Louis out. She also said that she saw a big treasure in the market and asked Louis to come and appreciate it. Okay, I won't laugh. As he said this, the corners of his mouth that couldn't help but raise had already betrayed Fleur. The predecessor of Student Square Market was the flea market in the college. Students sold things they did not need in the market, and it gradually evolved into a good place for shopping. Some people have found complete ancient prescriptions here and made a lot of profits, others have bought fakes here and lost hundreds of gold galleons. Fleur took Louis through several streets, from the spacious main road to the narrow and messy alleys. Dang dang dang. The good things I told you are in this store. Fleur pointed to a store at the end of the street and introduced it to Louis. Looking towards the shop that Fleur mentioned, it was a small shed that could collapse at any time. It had no door, and the roof was supported by a few thin wooden sticks. It looked very weak. These are nothing, the most important thing is that it can't even find a single intact wall. What Louis saw alone were 7 or 8 holes the size of fists, and there were countless cracks and so on. Can this be considered a shop? The beggar's temple is better than it. Louis simply couldn't imagine what good things could be found in such a shop. Don't rush to comment yet. After you go in and take a look, you will understand how good this place is. Fleur covered her mouth and laughed. The first time she came here, she was even more surprised than Louis. Only after she actually went in once did she understand why the little wizards were so keen on this kind of place. The simple appearance is just a cover, even this cabin is a cover, they are just a transit point on the way to the new world. There are many such transfer stations in Student Square City. In order to sell certain prohibited contraband, many shops are deliberately dressed up to look dilapidated and messy to avoid surprise inspections by patrol teams. The situation inside the house was similar to what Louis expected. Except for the floor tiles under his feet, there was not a single complete item in sight. Fleur was seen squatting on the ground, tapping one of the stone bricks with her wand 3 times in a row according to a specific pattern. Click! The stone bricks continued to shrink under the drive of the magic machine, revealing a tunnel for one person to move forward. Follow closely, don't fall behind. Taking out a magic torch from the secret compartment next to the tunnel, Fleur walked into the dark tunnel first without any explanation. Louis hesitated for half a second and hurriedly chased her down the tunnel. Not long after he entered, the entrance slowly closed with a slight creaking sound, waiting for the next guest to arrive. I don't know how long we walked in the tunnel, 1 minute, in still 1 minute, the two of them came to a spacious underground store. The owner of the shop was an old goblin. He looked up at the visitors and made sure that they were not from the Academy patrol team. Then he lowered his head and focused on his own business. The things I mentioned are right there, I'll take you there. Fleur was obviously used to the indifference of the shopkeeper. The old goblin would only have a different expression on his face when he saw Jean Gallen. She led Louis to a row of wooden bookshelves filled with ancient books. On it was a treasure she found while searching for treasure last year, a notebook full of magic potion experiences. Fleur, who majored in alchemy, lost interest in it after taking a few glances at it. The potion notes were of little use to her, but for Louis, the magic potion experiences recorded by the ancient potion masters were enough to give him a lot of inspiration. This is it. Pulling out a thick Bible from the second floor of the bookshelf, Fleur laboriously laid the Bible flat on the wooden floor. Inside was a parchment scroll with alchemical patterns, which Fleur hid when she came to Fangxi yesterday afternoon. Potions notes from the Bible. The notes are hidden by an ancient spell. Only by solving the alchemical puzzle on the parchment can you get a booklet full of ancient Greek texts. A wizard who does not know the knowledge of alchemy, ancient Greek writing and potions will not know what is recorded in the parchment even if he gets it. Only an all-around genius like Fleur, who had mastered all three types of knowledge, especially alchemy, could obtain the potion notes by chance. While Fleur was solving the puzzle, Louis gently closed the Bible and placed it back in the empty space on the second floor of the bookshelf. At this time, Fleur had already solved the puzzle. The parchment cracked open, and her flawless jade hand reached into the crack. When she reappeared, there was a paper note in Fleur's jade hand. You first see if it's true. Fleur handed the note to Louis. She didn't know much about potions. She only knew that the notes contained potions knowledge, but she didn't know whether the knowledge above was true. This was one of the reasons why Fleur didn't directly buy the notes and give them to Louis. Taking the note from Fleur, Louis turned to the first page under her expectant eyes. It turns out to be a potion note. Looking at the lines of potion symbols, Louis instantly understood what the surprise Fleur was talking about, and an inexplicable warmth surged in his heart. Chapter 15. Before his parents committed suicide, Louis lived with them. Every night, his mother, who was known as the Vampire Devil, would hold little Louis in her arms and teach him some knowledge about refining medicine. It was during that time that Louis learned ancient Greek, a script commonly used by ancient potionists. Regarding the 3 ways to use moon shadow grass, the explanation of the efficacy of Baixian, and the improvement method of diarrhea medicine. The more Louis read, the more surprised he became. The knowledge about potions recorded above was simply fascinating. These must be the notes of a potions master, although the name of the master is not marked on the note. Louis can guarantee that its owner is definitely a famous master of potions. Can you lend it to me, Fleur? It's really important to me. Louis looked at Fleur eagerly. Is it okay if I say no? Seeing Louis' nervous look, Fleur suddenly became playful and teased Louis. Please, my good sister. Just let me read it for a while. Louis held the note in his arms and said coquettishly, holding Fleur's hand. This was Fleur. If anyone else who was not familiar with Louis found this notebook, Louis would be sure to snatch it from him. If you can become this year's freshman test number 1, I will give you the notes. Really? You mean to give it to me? Oh my God! You are so kind! Louis couldn't help but hug Fleur. Even though he had a premonition that Fleur would give the note to him, otherwise why would she ask him to do it, but the moment he heard it with his own ears, Louis still couldn't restrain the joy in his heart. Fleur, who was picked up by Louis to celebrate, was stunned for a moment. It took her a while to react and struggled to escape from Louis' arms. But her slightly weakened body couldn't exert any strength at all, let alone resist Louis' strange strength. Fleur had no choice but to blush slightly and bite Louis' strong shoulder, trying to use pain to wake Louis up. Ah, I'm sorry, I was so excited just now, so. Louis quickly let go of Fleur and explained hurriedly, fearing that Fleur would be angry and ignore him like last time. Humph. The heavy nasal voice showed Fleur's unhappiness. She could understand Louis' excitement, but understanding did not mean that Fleur could accept Louis' behavior. She took out the potion notes from Louis' arms and put them back into the crack in the middle of the parchment. Fleur took the parchment back to its original shape and walked towards the counter without looking back. The parchment scroll, right? A trace of recollection flashed in the old goblin's eyes. It was an inheritance item entrusted to it by an old friend and asked to be kept on his behalf. It contained the magic potion knowledge summed up by the old friend when he was young. The old friend asked him to help find a suitable inheritor. He has been waiting in this small shop for more than 30 years, but he has never waited for the little wizard who can solve puzzles and has a high level of medicine refining that his old friend asked for. Your sincere offer is 30 gold galleons. Our rules do not allow bargaining. The old goblin said in a hoarse voice. The price of 30 gold galleons was enough to dispel the curiosity of many little wizards. There were several little wizards in the past. The wizard had been scared off. 30 golden galleons, right? Take it. Louis took out 30 golden galleons from his purse and handed it to the old goblin who had white hair and wrinkles on his face. Do you know what's inside? The old goblin suddenly became interested, and without waiting for Louis to answer, he asked again, what's the use of white berries? I'll give you a white thorn that is seriously short of water. What should you do with it? Beauxbatons is sweet and bitter, has the effect of quickly stopping bleeding and acting as a neutralizer. It can neutralize dragon's blood and other drugs, making them inert and convenient for refining medicine. If you give me a plant of Beauxbatons, I will work with moon shadow grass. Use. The first half is Louis' own understanding of Beauxbatons, and the subsequent processing method is learned from the notes. This question not only tests Louis' potion level, but also detects whether he has obtained the potion notes. Without reading the potion notes and not knowing the 3 ways to use moon shadow grass, it would be difficult for the little wizard to answer this question accurately. When fresh vegetables are severely dehydrated, they will secrete a special substance that is not resistant to high temperatures. When boiled at high temperatures, there is a high probability that it will undergo qualitative changes and produce a highly toxic potion. Very well, take it away, and take this pendant with you. If your old friend is interested, you should be able to meet him. The old goblin took out a sapphire necklace and was extremely solemn. Into the hands of Louis. The mission entrusted to it by its old friend has been completed. It can finally leave this cold and damp underground store, taking all its belongings with it, together with the 30 gold galleons given by Louis. The old goblin activated his teleport props. Before leaving, it entrusted the shop to Louis along with its worthless goods, treating it as a financial aid to its old friend and disciple. Just leaving like that. Louis and Fleur looked at each other. Although the old goblin took away the most valuable items in the store, the remaining items were still valuable. It would cost at least more than 1,000 gold galleons to buy them. There was also the title deed of the shabby store outside. The old goblin leave it all to Louis. You should take it, you found the parchment, and you solved the puzzle on it. Louis put the land deed and the alchemy pendant into Fleur's hand. What are you doing for me? You are the one who answered the question, you are the one who paid the money, and you were the one who entrusted the old goblin to entrust her before she left. Fleur quickly refused. I don't care, or we can go on together, I will be the boss and you will be the boss's wife, or... The two of them pushed back for a long time, and finally at Louis's insistence, Fleur blushed and agreed to Louis' proposal to be the boss, and she to be the boss too, and the two of them jointly managed everything in the shop. The time has come to September 30th, and tomorrow is the time for the entrance test. Louis has not seen Fleur for many days. The last time they met was 10 days ago. The two of them met briefly. That time Fleur kept her head down, saying she had pimples on her face, and refused to let Louis see her face. Louis, who was busy preparing for the entrance test, didn't hear anything unusual. It wasn't until today, when the placement test was about to begin, that Louis realized something was wrong with Fleur when he was free. At that time, her voice was a little hoarse, as if she had cried, and she had pimples on her face. Wouldn't drinking a bottle of anti-acne potion solve the problem? Fleur's face must have more than just pimples. Simple. It's just that it's already 9 o'clock now, after the curfew time. Even if Louis ran to the girls' dormitory area, he couldn't find Fleur. Chapter 16. Doremi, my dear friend, please listen to my call and come to me. Louis read out the summoning spell Doremi gave him. After the last cooperation, Louis and Doremi became very good friends. Doremi promised that as long as Louis was still at Beauxbatons Academy, he could ask him for help at any time. So it's you, Louis, why are you looking for me so late? Doremi, wearing pajamas and a tired face, appeared in front of Louis. It had already fallen asleep at this point. Dear Doremi, I have a friend named Fleur, a very kind little witch. Her recent situation is somewhat abnormal. Can you please help me check it out? As you know, I will start school soon. It's exam time. Louis clasped his hands together. He had no free time in recent days, so he had to ask Dorami to help him find out the reason for Fla's abnormality. Look for the reason for her abnormality. Give me something with her aura, or a photo of her, and I will give you the answer in 2 days. Dorami agreed readily. Thank you. Without you, I don't know what I would do. Louis quickly took out a photo of him and Fleur, which was taken together when they were in the castle. If I have nothing else to do, I will go back to sleep first. I will ask my elf friends to help tomorrow and I will guarantee a satisfactory result for you. Dorami yawned greatly, waved goodbye to Louis, and then teleported back to his home on the ground floor of the castle with Fla's photo. Early the next morning, wearing a close-fitting hunting suit and putting daggers, flints, and other items in the hunting suit pockets, Louis walked towards the gathering point in Nanchinj district with his wand and a day's worth of food. There is a grey-brown wand bag attached to the hunting belt. The 42-centimeter-long bag can just hold the dragon wand. The dragon is too long, almost twice as long as some wands. Other little wizards can put their wands in their arms or in their sleeves, but Louis can't. He has to bring a wand bag to hold the dragon wand. Across the entire inner city, when Louis reached the Nanchinj district, there were already many young wizards standing at the gathering point. Among them was a magic carriage the size of a palace, with 128 flying horses divided into 8 rows and connected to the carriage by long magic ropes. The time came to 7:30 in the morning. Under the guidance of the professor, the little wizards got on the magic carriage in order, and Louis was the last one to get on. It wasn't until the Pegasus flapped their wings and flew into the sky with the magic carriage that Louis vaguely saw the figure he had been waiting for. The running Fla's face was shining brightly, and she didn't know whether it was sweat or crystal clear tears. Already gone, sorry Louis, 2 lines of hot tears flowed from the corners of Fla's eyes. The grievances accumulated over the past few days burst out at this moment. Fleur, who had always been strong, cried. This was the first time she had cried since she became conscious. No, she can't cry, she needs to be strong, she can't let those people see her cowardly look, but why her heart still hurts so much, Fleur doesn't understand, and she doesn't want to understand either. All of this was recorded by Dorami, who was hiding in the grass. Sitting in the carriage, Louis felt an inexplicable feeling of palpitations. He clutched his aching chest. Louis frowned slightly. It seemed that Fla's matter could not be delayed any longer. There were not many things that could make his heart palpitate. Anne was protected by a group of wizards, and with her equipment, it was difficult to encounter danger. As for Beilong and Fanchuan, Louis had already arranged that Keiki would temporarily stay in his villa during the 3 days he was hunting in the wild to help take care of the 2 little guys. Fleur was the only one left who could make Louis feel palpitations. I hope Dorami can give me good news, Louis thought fiercely. No matter who is targeting Fleur, Louis will make him pay the price. Amidst the neighing of Pegasus, the magic carriage landed in a newly opened clearing in the middle of a forest, where this year's wild hunt will be held. Take a jade token from the accompanying professor, kill the prey, and use the jade token to taint the blood of the prey once to get the corresponding points. Repeated acquisition is invalid. Prey that has been used by others cannot be used again. If you defeat other little wizards, you can get half of his points by being contaminated with the blood of the little wizard. The same little wizard cannot be contaminated again. Teams cannot be formed for this hunt, and there are 3 ways to withdraw. First, the little wizards choose to withdraw from the game. Second, when the little wizards encounter fatal danger and the jade cards turn into shields to offset the damage, they will automatically withdraw from the game. Third, when the score in the jade cards drops below 3 points, automatically exit the competition. Each little wizard initially has 10 points. If he fails to catch the prey, he will be disqualified from the competition if he fails twice. At the same time, every day you survive, a certain amount of points will be added at the end, and you can get this score regardless of success or failure. The little wizards who want to participate in the hunt stand next to the professor, and they are teleported to various parts of the forest to ensure that the little wizards do not collide with each other at the beginning. A total of 15 professors participated in this hunt. They were divided into 3 groups and cast the apparition spell in sequence. 5 professors took the students away, while the remaining 10 professors protected the entire camp. Louis was the 11th batch of young wizards who were teleported away. A cold-faced professor led him to cast a apparition spell, threw Louis on a tree and left quickly. Taking out the dragon from the wand bag behind him, Louis observed the surroundings vigilantly. There was a cave not far behind him, and a small flowing stream 30 meters to the left in front. It seemed to be a good place for hunting. Casting a levitating spell on himself, Louis took a deep breath and jumped directly from the tree. Under the double protection of the floating spell and the grass, Louis landed on the ground intact. While it was still early, he was going to hunt some animals for lunch. As for the dry food on his body, it is emergency food. Until the critical moment, Louis will not touch these foods that can be stored for a long time. After walking dozens of meters along the plum blossom prints on the edge of the creek, Louis found a cicadere in a bush. He touched it carefully, and when he was still more than 20 meters away from the cicadere raised its head from the bushes and looked at the area where Louis was lurking. He waited patiently for a long time, until the wind direction changed and the cicadere lowered its head again and nibbled on the young leaves on the grass, then he slowly moved his body. This time, he stopped more than 10 meters away from the cicadere. With Louis' poor lurking level, this was his limit. If he got any closer, he might be discovered by the cicadere. Chapter 17. Tarantella Dance. Louis recited the spell he had prepared long ago, and a pink ball of light flew out of the top of the wand and flew towards the cicadere. In the past month, they have only learned 2 spells, namely the levitation spell and the petrification spell. Louis learned the Tarantella Dance from the library. Many young wizards didn't even master the petrification spell and only knew a floating spell. Let alone hunting animals, it would be difficult for them to live in this forest for 3 days. This hunt is more about courage and survival ability than the fighting ability of the little wizards. Louis gradually understood the nature of hunting and what fighting power a group of little wizards who had just turned 11 years old could have. He just said, why the Academy imposes restrictions on food and alchemy items. It turns out to be to compare the young wizards' ability to survive in the wild. The little wizards who dare to participate in the hunt and stay in the forest for a few days will get a good score. Only a few little wizards, similar to Louis and the sneaky girls in the charms class, have the possibility to hunt animals. The ball of light rubbed the cicadere's soft fur and hit the shrubs nearby. The branches and leaves of the shrubs trembled up and down as if they were having a convulsion. Damn it! Just a little bit, we hit it. Louis cursed angrily, just a little bit, he can eat fresh venison. Name, Louis. Mana, 6/39. New skills. Petrification spell, paralyzes the opponent's actions. The paralysis time is determined by the amount of magic power given and the opponent's strength, 15 magic points/time. Tarantella Dance, the body of the cursed person will dance uncontrollably, and the time is determined by the amount of magic power, 20 magic points/time. Putting the dragon back into his wand bag, Louis took out a sharp dagger. He was going to go to the creek to trim it for a while, and then go hunting when his magic power returned to above 20 points. Herbivores generally run very fast. Without using magic spells to interfere with them, let alone hunting them, whether Louis can catch up with those animals is a problem. The creek is not very big, and there are a few small fish as big as a palm swimming in the slightly fast water. Lunch is settled, Louis thought excitedly, recalling the wilderness survival programs he had watched in his previous life, and he quickly figured out a little fishing trick. Louis first found a few big stones from the side of the stream and arranged them into a row of embankments to block the rushing stream, leaving only a gap about 20 centimeters long. Then he used a knife to cut off a few branches and surrounded the gap behind it. It forms a less than standard circle, and the next thing to do is to wait. Time passed little by little, and the magic power slowly increased at a rate of 2 points per hour. When the sun was high in the sky, Louis' magic power returned, which was only enough for him to cast a floating curse. It was almost done. Louis seized the time to pick up a flat stone and block the gap in the middle of the dam. Then he checked the fish caught in the trap. 3 unknown small fish became his lunch today. After performing an intestinal operation on the little fish, Louis carefully cleaned the debris from their stomachs, then scraped off the scales on their bodies and used flames to warm their bodies. Roar! The roar that resounded through the forest came from the upper reaches of the creek. An adult brown bear, weighing more than 300 kilograms, was walking toward Louis, or rather to the cave not far behind Louis, which was its home. It was not having much luck today. It had been searching all morning but could not find any prey. It only ate some berries to satisfy its hunger. Just when it was about to go back to the cave to lie down for a while, the brown bear smelled the smell of food. Louis quickly grabbed the dragon wand and the dagger placed next to the fire. He completely ignored the grilled fish and jumped to the short tree nearby. There is no way, the weapons in hand are too poor. It is okay to capture some docile herbivores. If hunting bears, using heavy weapons such as long-handled axes is obviously more advantageous. The brown bear first ate the internal organs by the stream. When it felt it was not enough, driven by its hunger instinct, it extended its claws to the grilled fish next to the fire. The palm-sized grilled fish was just enough to fill the gap between its teeth. "Get out of here, big guy," hiding in the tree, Louis cursed in his heart. He didn't want to fight for his life with a brown bear, although an adult brown bear could be exchanged for a lot of points, and there were delicacies like bear paws that could be eaten. "Wait, why am I getting hungrier the more I think about it?" Louis silently swallowed the saliva that was about to flow out. Bear's paw, score, number 1, potion notes. All kinds of temptations turned into demons, tempting him in Louis' ears, telling him that the little bear was not scary, just like playing the pesticide game. His teammates kept yelling in the channel, "Come on, this is guaranteed." One person and one bear raised their heads at the same time, their eyes intertwined in mid-air. They all saw the green wildness in each other's eyes. Louis and the brown bear roared angrily, and the two figures collided with each other in the wildest and oldest way. His power, which could be called a god in the mortal world, was not worth mentioning in front of the brown bear. The brown bear's thick paw was blocked by Louis' left hand, and his right hand holding the dagger stabbed hard into the brown bear's thick shoulder, breaking the bear's skin, and about 1/3 of the dagger's body, which was centimeters long, was submerged. At the same time that Louis was shot away, the dagger made a long wound on the brown bear's body. Hot bear blood spurted out from the wound. The brown bear couldn't help but scream, and its dark red eyes were filled with murderous intent. Louis adjusted his body in mid-air. His left hand that was hit by the brown bear hurt like a fracture. Both he and the brown bear were injured, but the brown bear's injury was more serious. Before Louis could land on the ground, the brown bear roared and charged at Louis. It wanted to tear the two-legged sheep into pieces and then swallow it bit by bit. Louis did not retreat but advanced, holding the dagger in his right hand on his waist, and nimbly dodged the bear's paw attack. The dagger pierced the brown bear's chest like a poisonous snake. Roar! The brown bear was injured again and became ferocious. Its fangs, claws and body became its weapons to attack Louis. Louis let go of the dagger, and after narrowly dodging several attacks, he crossed his hands in front of his chest and activated his natural ability, Earth Barrier. When the bear's paw slapped his arm, his body took the initiative to rise into the air, using the power of the bear's paw. It flew 7 or 8 meters away. He had already won this hunt, and there was no need to fight with the cub that was destined to die. There were 2 blood grooves on the side of the dagger. As long as it penetrated into the key parts of the brown bear, it would sooner or later die from excessive blood loss. Louis, who was in a happy mood, played a hide-and-seek game with the brown bear. The bigger the brown bear moved, the happier Louis became. Blood continuously poured out from the 2 blood grooves and the wound on the shoulder. In just half a minute, nearly a liter of bear blood flowed to the ground. Chapter 18. The increasingly weak brown bear gradually came out of its violent state, and at this time it had the idea of escape. The roles of one person and one bear were reversed, with the brown bear running away in front, and Louis chasing closely behind it, keeping a distance where he could see the brown bear but not be hit by its counterattack. I chased the weak brown bear for several thousand meters, but the big guy who lost a lot of blood could no longer run 3 minutes ago. He managed to hold on and walk several dozen meters, but he never fell down. Louis took out the dry food in his pocket and ate while watching the surrounding environment. He not only had to be careful of possible predators, but also the little wizards lurking in the dark. About 7 minutes ago, Louis saw a little wizard. The guy was hiding on the treetops, secretly watching Louis and the injured brown bear through the gaps between the branches and leaves. If the brown bear hadn't smelled his scent and actively avoided the tree where the wizard was hiding, Louis might not have discovered his presence. After being slapped by brown bears twice in a row, Louis' left hand was not broken, but it was disabled in a short period of time. He could not use up any strength. Every time he moved his body, there was a heart-pounding pain in his left hand. At this moment, the brown bear swayed and fell to the ground, and a total of 3 figures, including Louis, took action. All petrochemical. The sneaking girl Sophie Marceau and the unknown little wizard who spied on Louis used magic together, and 2 petrification spells attacked Louis one after the other. Among the 3 of them, Louis is the closest to the brown bear, only more than 10 meters away, followed by Sophie Marceau, and finally the unknown little wizard. The distance between the 2 of them and the brown bear is not much different, both are more than 20 meters away. 2 noises broke through the air. Among them, the little wizard's petrification spell was easily dodged by Louis as if he was not aiming. The real difficulty was the petrification spell cast by Sophie Marceau, which happened to be stuck in Louis' way forward. On the road. While running, Louis wanted to move his body to avoid the petrification spell just like before. An unbearable pain came from his left arm, causing Louis to stop for a moment, and the petrification ray hit Louis. He was petrified for half a second. Because of this half second, when Louis recovered from the petrified state, his body leaned forward and fell to the ground uncontrollably. Sophie Marceau took this opportunity, stretched out her long legs, and ran towards the location of the brown bear's body. The little wizard couldn't run very fast, not even a quarter of Sophie's speed. "It's mine," Sophie Marceau thought happily. "All petrochemical." Before Sophie Marceau could be happy for too long, the little wizard chanted the petrification spell again, and the petrification ray hit Sophie accurately, causing her to fall to the ground like Louis. "Hey, two idiots," the wizard grinned happily. He deliberately shot the first petrifying ray out of the way, in order to paralyze Sophie Marceau and make her underestimate her own strength. Coupled with the deliberate slowing down of the speed, Sophie Marceau was indeed fooled. Louis fell 10 meters away from the brown bear carcass. He has not gotten up from the ground until now. Sophie is 17 meters away. Who else can compete with him for the brown bear carcass? The wizard held the wand in his right hand, took out the jade token with his left hand, and trotted towards the brown bear corpse. When he passed by Louis, he threw his wand and hit Louis in the back. Anyway, he didn't have enough magic power left to perform magic, and it was useless to hold the wand. It was better to throw it out as a hidden weapon. Louis was hit hard just now, and he lay on the ground in a daze for several seconds before he realized what he was doing. When he put his right hand on the ground and was about to stand up from the ground, he was hit by the wand coming from behind. If Louis' hand was not strong enough, he would have been knocked back to the ground by the wand. I am the final winner." The wizard standing next to the brown bear's corpse roared, as if he was declaring his sovereignty. The jade sign moved toward the pool of hot blood under the brown bear's corpse. "Here I have to explain the rules for calculating the jade cards. The blood must be freshly separated from the body, and the blood dripping on the ground is not counted. Moreover, it must be detected that the main body of the blood has lost its activity before the score can be calculated. For example, Louis caught those 3 small fish at noon. As soon as he killed the fish, he had to drop the fish blood on the jade sign to calculate the score. He now has 40 points, and each small fish has 10 points. This case does not include little wizards, who have a special algorithm that allows them to rob half of the score without losing activity." In the desperate eyes of Louis and Sophie, the brown bear moved. The brown bear, which had long been considered dead, suddenly stood up from its side lying on the ground. It used its last bit of strength in an attempt to teach the little thief who heard it a lesson, but unfortunately it taught the wrong person. Louis was still standing 10 meters away. The bear's paw first slapped the jade sign, and then was transmitted to the wizard's left hand. When the jade sign automatically shattered and turned into a shield, the wizard's left hand turned at a scary angle, and white bones stabbed out from the wrist. "His left hand is broken." "Ah!" the wizard screamed, holding his arms and falling to the ground. The brown bear's corpse leaned on the invisible shield formed by the jade plaque, and slid weakly back to the blood-stained grass. This time it was really dead. Is there such a good thing? Louis' eyes flashed. He originally thought that the wizard had robbed him of his points, but he didn't expect that he had taken a chance to be beaten and took the initiative to help Louis withstand the brown bear's last blow before it died. Louis took steps forward, and Sophie cast the petrification spell at the same time. They were all betting on whether Sophie's blow could hit Louis. If she can hit it, Sophie will be the final winner. If she is dodged by Louis, then Louis will win the points he deserves. When Louis was only 5 meters away from the brown bear's body, Sophie took action. The petrification ray cut through the air and shot directly at Louis' not-so-tall body. Having been tricked by the petrifying ray once, Louis, who had experience in dealing with it, always retained a trace of vigilance. The moment he noticed Sophie's attack, he immediately quickened his pace and moved his body 1 step to the right, just in time to avoid the petrifying ray. He won, and the moment the jade tablet touched the bear's blood, Louis knew he had won. The wizard is disqualified from the competition and does not need to be considered. Sophie cast 2 petrification spells in succession. As long as she had not broken through the wizard apprentice stage, her magic power would have bottomed out, and she would be unable to cast any magic like Louis. Using only his physical body, Lewis was confident that few wizards could defeat him, and even if there were, it would be those experienced aurors, not Sophie in front of him. 3,040 points was Lewis' score at this time. A brown bear added 3,000 hunting points to him, which was enough for Lewis to secure the first place in advance. Chapter 19. The little wizard looked at Lewis with resentment in his eyes. If it weren't for Lewis, he wouldn't be as hurt as he is now. He completely forgot that it was his own greed and desire to seize Lewis' prey that led to such an end. Is anyone injured? A female professor suddenly appeared next to the little wizard. She was the second little wizard to withdraw from the competition today. There was another unlucky guy in front of him. He misjudged the height between himself and the ground. He jumped directly from the tree without even using the floating spell. He is still lying in the camp. My Merlin! With such a big brown bear, are those wizards who eliminated the danger blind? They didn't throw it outside. Her eyes followed the blood on the ground to the brown bear's body. The female professor who came to the rescue cursed angrily and waved her wand quickly. She wanted to inform the wizards in the camp about the situation here. As early as a week ago, Beauxbatons College sent 10 professors to this forest to prepare the competition venue. They first placed muggle-repelling spells around the forest to ensure that muggles would not notice anything strange in the forest, and then launched a net-like inspection to ensure that there were no animals in the forest that could harm the little wizards. All carnivores, including omnivores like wild boars, are removed from the forest to a designated resettlement area. As a result, an adult brown bear actually appeared here. Although it had turned into a corpse, the impact was not something she could handle alone. Children, you are not hurt. The witch looked in the direction of Lewis and Sophie. She had already seen the little wizard. His left arm was broken, so there was no big problem. I'm fine. He killed all the brown bears. Me and whoever is lying on the ground are just here to grab points. Sophie pointed at Lewis and said. You didn't lie to me, did you? The female professor obviously didn't believe it. Lewis, a little wizard, could deal with an adult brown bear. That thing would be difficult for even a 4th or 5th grade wizard to deal with. At night, Lewis walked back to the cave, exhausted and carrying bear meat. The professors discussed it all afternoon but could not come up with any solution. However, they gave Lewis a bottle of healing potion, and the injury on his left hand was almost healed. He actually wanted to withdraw from the competition directly, go back to school one day earlier, and help Fleur vent her anger one day earlier. As a result, the professors did not allow him to leave the team early, saying that they wanted to show fairness. They also told Lewis that his survival points were very high. If he quit the game now, he would probably not get the #1 reward. As for what the truth is, only professors know. Wearing the bearskin that the female professor helped to take care of, a bonfire was lit in the cave, and Lewis fell into sleep within a short time. A lot of lavender light appeared in the air. Every time the sleeping Lewis took a breath, a lot of light poured into Lewis' body. There were more and more lights, and Lewis was gradually dyed purple. Until the next morning, the golden sun just rose from the sky, and the first ray of sunlight mixed into the lavender light. At this moment, the light expanded countless times, and the entire cave, centered on Lewis, emitted an extremely intense purple light. 2,000 years ago, before death came to the wizarding world, the entire wizarding world had an extremely prosperous wizarding culture. The only thing that could rival the wizarding civilization was the Eastern monk civilization. At that time, wizards had a very detailed division of realms, wizard apprentices and formal wizards of the 1st to 7th levels. According to legend, there was an 8th level wizard king. Whenever a wizard apprentice has accumulated enough and breaks through to become a formal wizard, various visions will accompany the young wizard based on his talent, accumulation and, most importantly, luck, similar to the thunder catastrophe experienced by Eastern monks. Those with powerful visions can also receive rewards from the consciousness of heaven and earth, the lowest treasures of heaven and earth. The middle rewards are magic spells that have never appeared in the wizarding world, and the highest and rarest first-class rewards are various innate abilities. In the wizarding world, there are 2 ways to easily obtain talents. One is to have the bloodline of a 7th level legendary wizard. The higher the concentration, the easier it is to obtain talents. That is a reward given to legendary wizards by the consciousness of heaven and earth. The second one is the one above. When you break through to become a formal wizard, you will receive rewards from heaven and earth. The purple light that appeared in the cave was one of them, a vision called Ziji Heaven and Earth. It was as rare as the 7-9 Thunder Tribulation in the monk world, and its owners were all people with deep luck. The purple light comparable to the sun was sucked into Louis' body, and the next second, Louis woke up from his sleep. "Nice sister. What idiot pooped next to me? It stinks so much." A smell worse than shit permeated the entire cave. Louis's hands, the bearskin, and the withered grass under him were all covered in black impurities. He jumped into the cold stream with the bearskin and washed for more than half an hour before he could wash away the smell from his body. He was unwilling to go into the cave because it smelled too bad. He almost didn't even want the bearskin. If it hadn't been for the fact that this was the first bear Louis hunted and had a high commemorative significance, he would have thrown the bearskin back into the cave and let it stay with the brown bear meat. Returning to the shore wearing a wet bearskin, Louis lit a bonfire and used a detection technique on himself as a habit. Name: Louis Lestrange. Occupation: First Level Wizard / Junior Potion Master. Mana: 47/100. Talent: Earth Barrier, semi-unblocked when open, it consumes 5 magic points per second. Lestrange's Honor, under seal, condition for unsealing, promotion to second level wizard. Purple Body, sealed, condition for unsealing, promotion to third level wizard. Skill: There is a saying in the ancient wizarding world that when the talent is stronger than that of the wizard, the consciousness of heaven and earth will give it seal restrictions to protect the young wizard from being oppressed by talent. Just like the goblins, they are born with powerful magical talents. If they are not restricted, the talent will oppress their bodies. Eventually, the goblins will gradually change from handsome men and beauties over 2 meters tall to little ones less than 1 meter tall. Dwarf. Did I break through? Is this a breakthrough? Looking at the data and new talents that appeared on the detection interface, Louis opened his mouth in disbelief. He didn't expect that after just one sleep, he would break through and get a new talent. Moreover, I seem to have more strength. Louis clenched his fists. He felt that his strength was more than 1.5 times that of yesterday. His gains were more than that. There was also a system reward that he had not drawn. After breaking through to the first level wizard, he unlocked a training method and a new dictionary called the Dwarf Dictionary. Chapter 20. I haven't even started studying the Ancient Goblin Dictionary yet, but here comes another Ancient Dwarf Dictionary. This is going to tire me out, right? Louis thought with pain and joy. After the class test is over and Fla's affairs are taken care of, he will have time to study the Goblin Dictionary and the Dwarf Dictionary. Louis is going to translate the cultivation techniques first, and then learn other things when he has more time. The reward interface was the same as last time. It was dark and nothing could be seen except the big turntable. The turntable slowly stopped and the central pointer stopped on a red area. The next moment the carousel stopped, Louis was ejected from the bonus space. Fireball, LV1, upgradable, consume points of magic power to create a high temperature fireball that can sustain burning. Casting type, chanting. Spell, fire is coming. Concise version, Fire Spirit, please listen to my call, integrate the power of the ancient contract, and help me destroy the enemies in front of me. Full version. Dragon language version. Duration, 3 seconds. Attack distance, long range, 100 meters plus 20 meters / wizard level. Fireball is Louis' new reward, the offensive magic he needs most now. Different from the magic in the current world, Fireball does not require waving a wand, but can be cast by chanting a spell. The dragon language version of Fireball is the most powerful, and the concise version is the least powerful, less than 1/3 of the full version, but the casting speed is soon. Fire is coming. Louis chanted a concise version of the spell. He swung the wand a few times habitually, and a fireball the size of a fist appeared on his chest. Louis, who was controlling the fireball, suddenly moved. The fireball immediately turned into a crimson beam of light and landed on a birch tree about 10 meters high on the other side of the stream. When the fireball disappeared, a black hole with a depth of more than 3 centimeters appeared in the heart of the birch tree, affecting half of the trunk. A stream of green smoke emerged from the black hole. This is true if it hits a hard birch tree, but what if it hits a person or an animal? I'm afraid a fireball can destroy an enemy. Little animals in the forest, wait for me, I will punish you right away. An evil smile appeared on Louis' lips. Walking upstream along the creek, Louis' magic recovery speed became 4 points per hour after his strength breakthrough. After 5 hours of recovery, he could accumulate a fireball spell. After meeting the little wizards and having a friendly exchange, the bruised and swollen little wizards took the initiative to pay half of their points and begged Louis to let them go. When encountering wild animals, those who can outrun them will be punched to death, while those who cannot outrun them will be rewarded with a fireball and given a painless funeral service. In the next 2 days, Lewis swept through most of the competition area. More than 50 little wizards and 10 large animals were robbed of points by Lewis. By the time the game was about to end, he had 530 points. Have you met the Big Eater? This sentence has replaced "Have you eaten today?" and has become a must-have greeting in the camp. Among the more than 30 little wizards, more than 20 were sent in directly by Lewis. Among the remaining 10, 8 little wizards were robbed by Lewis and were indirectly sent out of the game by him. For a time, the nickname Lewis the Big Eater became the most commonly used word in the camp. In every 3 sentences, one mentioned the Big Eater, or his nickname. It's funny. They have been classmates with Lewis for a month. Until now, they still don't know what Lewis's name is. They only know that he is a person who eats a lot and performs well in class. Lewis was too aloof. During class, he listened intently and did not chat with others. After class, he would go to the next classroom or the cafeteria without giving anyone a chance to communicate. Where is the Big Eater, they call now? In the middle of the blue lake, 2 water columns flew high and then fell back to the water. Sophie Marceau used the elegant butterfly stroke, like a butterfly falling on the water, fluttering to avoid the pursuit of the devil. Lewis used a simple and crude dog paddle style and slapped the water with strong force to ensure that he would not fall. There was no way, his body density was half times that of others, and he would have sunk if he changed to any other swimming method. The hunt should be over, I'm almost out of strength, my arms are so sore, Sophie prayed silently, hoping that the hunt would end as soon as possible. Ever since Sophie got up to pack her luggage and was discovered by Lewis 15 minutes ago, she began her escape journey. Except for the wand, Sophie threw away everything else. As a result, the distance between Lewis and her was still shrinking little by little. It wasn't until Sophie jumped into the water that the situation improved. Although the distance did not lengthen, it did not shorten either, always remaining 10 meters away. I'm so annoyed by this guy. He looks so much like the big guy, but his personality is so different from the big guys. The big man was Sophie's childhood friend. He lived in Sophie's house for more than a month and was her best friend. Before leaving, the big man left a raven medal for Sophie. The big man said that it was the emblem of their family. The Marceau family is a famous wizarding family in Austria. As the only direct descendant of this generation, Sophie has had high hopes from her family since she was a child, and faces great pressure every day. She didn't have a childhood to speak of, instead she had endless studies and an increasingly strict time schedule. Time for eating, sleeping, and studying were all planned, but there was no time for playing. It wasn't until Big Man and his family came to Austria that Sophie's situation changed. Big Man took her to catch butterflies, tease ants, and teach her how to braid a straw hat. Time passed quickly in the beautiful memories. The 2 professors teleported to the water one after another and took Lewis and Sophie back to the camp. Fear, resentment, and curiosity, 3 different looks focused on Lewis. Lewis glanced across the entire camp. Wherever his eyes went, few little wizards dared to look at him, not counting a certain lady who glared at Lewis. Facing Sophie's hostile gaze, Lewis walked to the campfire and sat down, using the temperature of the campfire to burn off the moisture on his body. What's your name? Why are you chasing me all the time? Sophie, who was sitting on the other side of the bonfire, asked aloud. My name is Lewis, Lewis Lestrange. As for why I want to chase you, of course it's for revenge. For some reason, Lewis had a good sense for the girl and subconsciously answered her question. How can it be? Sophie's heart was filled with turmoil, because the big man was also named Lewis, and the family corresponding to the raven emblem was the Lestrange family. Doesn't he recognize me? Sophie felt depressed and felt that something was missing. She wanted to confess everything to Lewis and ask him if he was a big man, but the girl's shyness made her embarrassed to ask this question.